At 3 o'clock in the morning on the 16th of November 1966, a strange light descended from the sky to the waters of the main storage reservoir in Macau. The next morning, a severe depletion of the reservoir's water level led a small group of divers to explore its depths. Here, they discovered a deep channel covered with strange carvings which had seemingly appeared out of nowhere. News quickly spread, and it was this phenomenon which called a recently formalized branch of Interpol into action, Division 9, also known as Otherworld Agents. You sit on the floor of a round chamber with walls tapering up to a squared off circle on the ceiling. The walls of this chamber are covered with the shapes of Scythian style animalistic patterns, each set of patterns radiating visually outwards from a single pewter colored statue at the bottom. Of the 12 statues in the spherical chamber before you, 7 of them are still in perfect order. The other 5 have been shattered as if by the inside, like glass shearing off and exploding outwards, causing damage to the walls. Of those, 2 of which seem to have broken a long time ago, and 3 of which seem to have broken recently. From those 3 broken statues emanate up the walls the images of a 6-limbed wildebeest with great towering antlers and 3 eyes. A large, broad-winged, eagle-looking creature with a long, curled beak, and a vast turtle-like creature with several additional flippers coming out, and a head that seems unlike a turtle and more like just a bulbous protrusion. However, there is still a small tail. Above the images that flicker from the unbroken statues, or above the images that rise from the unbroken statues, and underneath the glaring light of the flash of the working light that you have brought down with you, you can see the flickering of their shadows. And even though the light is still, their shadows seem alive. And emanating from those still unbroken statues, Valentina Ride can feel the seething and unrelenting energy of creatures, ideas, yet unborn into the world, starving to exist. All of this being experienced in a large chamber at the end of a long corridor, up a winding set of stairs, deep in the bowels of a 500-foot wide submerged chamber beneath the reservoir in Macau, created but 3 days ago by a strange anomaly of light, a beam or a pillar that descended from the sky, causing square ripples to erupt across the surface of the reservoir, diminishing its overall volume by 5 meters and causing this vast cavity to appear beneath it. This is what calls you there, and this is why you are here. Among the artifacts and items you found in the room were the bodies of 3 lizard men, drained mostly of moisture, and a quick examination of their body cavities reveals that their organs also seem to be missing. Upon their bodies, you discovered several items. 2 of them carried a rod, what appeared to be a set of knuckle dusters of some type, but made out of an unknown material, with a strip of translucent crystalline substance along the facing side. Of the 3, the one at the front of them had their hands clutched in a prayer position, but when their body was maneuvered to remove it from the cavern, their hands opened, dropping a small egg-shaped device with a strip of 12 strips around it. Each strip had 12 icons on it, those icons matching up to the images of these creatures, some mythical, some real, that were on the walls of these chambers. The eerie light, green and yellow warmth from the working lamp that you've set up there illuminates the room.
Well, I think from what we're looking at the moment, we should either proceed with a lockdown or a bag and tag. My concern is what's been just released and where it is.
Well, these creatures are dead. They're well and truly dead with no organs, so they should safely be able to be removed without causing any issues.
My worry is if we have another one come back. As we've mentioned earlier, the progression of these does not look as friendly as the first couple.
I think we had discussed perhaps caving in the entry or some sort of barrier in the entryway.
We can go a couple of ways. I could rig some explosives or essentially just some anti-personnel equipment.
I don't know if we actually do want to blow it up so much though, because we might destroy the...
I wouldn't recommend blowing it up, Agent Arthur. There's some sinister kind of malicious intent in these images we're seeing. These creatures and the statues that hold them, they feel malevolent to me. I wouldn't suggest any kind of destruction in this chamber.
Maybe removal.
Aside from their intent, this is a potentially absolutely priceless site that we're looking at here as well. I mean, we could gain an immense amount of knowledge if this were properly explored.
Yes.
Absolutely right. These are ancient artifacts, and we should know better what powers they might have.
You're right. Metal, they look sturdy. We'll do it the British way. Let's get them out of here.
The bag and tag, are we taking only one of these creatures with us?
Well, there's 7 left.
You talk about so there are the idols and there are the creatures.
I mean the ones that were at one point alive.
I think if we just take one of the creatures should be sufficient to get an understanding of the biology of them. We do not need all 3. Potentially we could come back and collect the others, but at this point I think to minimize the time, 1 should be sufficient.
What's the weight on these statues? How big are they? How tall?
You're going to go to one of the broken ones, the unbroken ones.
I'll try and extrapolate based on one of the broken ones.
All right, cool. Look, feeling the lumps, it looks like they are all of a uniform size and shape, but just with different patterns carved into them, or perhaps they were cast into different shapes. You're not sure. These seem to be devoid of tool marking. Oh no, that's not true. They do have tool markings. I did ascertain this last time. Yes. They do have tool markings on them. It's just that the surfaces seem to have been polished. So by picking up one of the pieces of the broken ones, you sort of get a feel for it. And you believe that they're heavy, but not so heavy that a person couldn't push them over.
Yep.
The main problem with them is that because they're so smooth and rounded, you'd need to get them onto something to move them. So whether or not you got them onto a piece of cloth or a bag or some rollers, or even onto like some kind of makeshift stretcher would possibly do the trick.
We can certainly take up the broken components of the previous statues.
Yeah, I think a piece should be sufficient. I'd be pretty reluctant to try and carry an entire one back to the surface with us.
Honestly, I'd be reluctant to touch any of them.
Yes.
And also, we don't actually have facilities to store them at the moment. We are essentially staying in a casino.
All right, let's get some samples up then. Bring some of the bodies with us. These miscellaneous tools for better examination. And maybe towards the entrance we'll set a trap.
Oh, absolutely. I've got something that should take care of people, but not necessarily bring the roof down.
I think that's the best way forward. Preserve the site, prevent ingress, and take what we need back for examination.
Very well.
Is there any further study, Susan, Julian?
I've I mean, as long as nothing's damaged these photos, and as long as the material's photographing correctly, I should have everything I need here. Wouldn't be adverse to a little sample of some of the metal we're seeing here.
Yeah,
I think take as much as required.
I think in terms of the biology of the creatures, if we get a creature up, that should be giving me plenty more opportunity in this limited facility. Obviously, I can't get as much detail out of them, but in general, I think if we just get one of the bodies up, that would be sufficient for me.
So, Lieutenant Wright?
That works for me, yeah.
Anything else you require before we leave?
No, we're going to take the objects that were found on the creatures up as well. Presumably, they're a little bit more hand-heldable.
Mm.
Are we intending to take any of the broken pieces of the statues?
Yes.
Just a small one.
Just a little?
Just a little bit.
Can I just verify when I was reading them, were the broken pieces emanating things, or was it just the living ones?
Just the living ones. I mean, if you did an object read on the broken ones, you might be able to pick up something else, something a bit more specific from those objects and their interactions, perhaps what they held, perhaps the nature of the creatures that they held in the past. But that said, the ones that still have the entities inside them, or you perceive to have an entity inside of it, no.
I'll leave it.
Let's take a small sample of each of the broken statues. Then we'll have a complete set for your deeper investigations, Lieutenant Wright.
We'll be able to do comparative. We can see if they're all the same age, for instance.
And Julian, you have photographs of all of the different creatures, the statues?
Everything in here, yeah, including the interior that we've got with the carvings up here. Obviously, I'd like to come back at a later date if it's possible and do some more detailed stuff, but I've got what I need for now.
Excellent. Any sort of rubbings or anything like that, or the photographs should be sufficient?
I think the photographs should be sufficient. Oh, maybe a quick rubbing. I'm gonna do a little quickie.
We'll wait while Julian rubs on that, and then we'll get on.
I was waiting for that.
I'm surprised how quick I can be.
Well practiced.
Just do a small segment of some of the carved relief on the walls.
Well, you brought your paper with you, so you get to work and you get a few key samples from across the board. You can't help but feel a sense of cold and unease when you're in close proximity to the unbroken statues. In particular, when your body comes close to them, you feel like a tingling.
Oh,
like there's some kind of radiation emitting from them.
Good. What we like. We didn't bring a Geiger counter, did we?
No.
Not something we packed, no.
Oh, well, next time.
I did the sample of the air, but obviously I think that just is picking up the quality in terms of oxygen and the balance of that.
well, we live and learn.
So you've organized you've taken the things that you want to take. You get you get one of the lizard men bodies and you organize that into one of
Body
the large
bag?
body bags.
Will it fit in a duffel bag, or?
I mean, it is lacking a bunch of things. If you fold it upright, it'll fit in a duffel bag. But you are worried, Julian Smith Sinclair II, about potentially damaging it. So the larger the bag, the better. Yeah.
Waterproof.
And then you put the component, all the bits and pieces of broken statues into smaller bags, and you take. Obviously, you've taken your rubbings, so you wrap them all up into a tube and get them waterproofed, ready to go. And you move back down the corridor to the diving bell, where you find the radio still in place, and you see the water just sitting there. It seems pretty still at this point still.
Okay. Agent Braithwaite, you go first. I'll hang back and rig up a few of these things now that we're out of the area, and follow shortly behind.
Okay, I'll grab a harpoon gun, zip back up, pop anything that needs it into a bag, and head for the diving bell.
All right, cool. Yeah, you get all your stuff down, you put it in order, get in the bell, and once more, jump in there. as you sort of like swim out just a few meters from the entrance to the underground or underwater cavern that goes into this chamber that you were in, and once more back into the large chamber. You've spent a couple of hours here, but you came in the morning, so you expect you'll be arriving close to midday by the time you get to the surface. So you duck under, come up in the bell, and then the bell starts. You give the signal, and the bell starts.
I'll wait for everyone else to come through as well.
Yes, of course. And then the bell starts to slowly rise. Again, as you're sort of rising up, you're looking out the small windows in the side of the bell, and you're seeing these patterns that were caused by the strange beam that came from the sky on the sides of this chamber that sort of opened up into the basement. And you look down once more into the fathomless deeps, wondering again in your head how far down that goes, and perhaps if there is anything even deeper than this cavern. But eventually you break the surface, and the bell continues to raise up, so the crane is lifted up and then brought onto deck, and you guys just come up to the side and climb up a ladder. And Chet is there to greet you and says, "Hey, welcome back. How did you go? I see you have some things. Wow, you got a body bag, a few options. Is there anything else? Do you need anything else brought up?"
No, but we will need the radio manned. We've set up some devices in the tunnel. We need to know if anyone attempts ingress.
Okay, great. So that's fine. We can get our people on the radio 24/7. You really are expecting someone to come in there?
No, but it pays to be prepared.
Is it possible that it's the Russians? Do we need armed guards on this?
Wouldn't hurt.
It's too early to say who we think it might be, but armed guards are definitely on the cards. We also require you to source some equipment to ascertain the full depth of this new fissure.
Well, we can run the Fathom right now off the side of the... we could probably just grab one from one of the neighboring ships in the pier. Vroom, vroom. At this point, you hear sort of the mad churning over of race car engines as they're doing their test laps on the track that actually circumnavigates the reservoir. Zoom, zoom. You see a particularly fancy red car going at speed.
They go faster.
The captain gets a bit distracted mid-conversation.
Yeah, it's carrying it's got a Japanese flag on the side of it. Looks like a Porsche at glance.
Yes, if we could do a Fathom, it would be preferable. Otherwise, we'll have to crunch the maths of how much water dropped.
Of course. No, that's fine.
Do we have some sort of medical facility to access?
That's a good question.
Chet's like, yes, of course. I mean, we can get you into any hospital on the island.
Perfect.
And organize some private quarters, or if you think a morgue might be more discreet, we can get you access to that as well at the police department.
We'll probably, I suspect, need a morgue and materials lab.
Okay. Yes. Excellent. This can be done. Do you need to go there straight away?
Yes, I think it's probably preferable to get straight in, and I'm going to stay with the body bag wherever it's transferred to.
All right. Very well. And should I organize transport for you right now? And do you want to stay around for the fathoming?
Agent Braithwaite, do you want to stay for the fathoming? I'll escort to the hospital.
Fathoming is just detailed information. You can pass it on once you have the relevant data. But Chet, are you able to do the fathoming personally?
Yes, I mean, I can do it and just call in. You guys have your own radios on you, so I can just call in and let you know how deep it is.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Try not to get too many other people involved. It might be disturbingly deep, I suspect.
Sure, no worries at all. I mean, look, it's apart from myself and the frogmen and the police at the gate here, we don't really have any issues. So we don't have anyone sort of who's going to be interfering with our process.
Excellent.
I'll need access to a dark room. Is there anywhere around here that you could slot me in for to do a bit of developing?
Yes, absolutely. No worries at all. We can sort you out. You can go to if you're going to be heading down to the morgue, it's quite close to the police station. You can use the dark room there.
I'll need to be able to do it solo. You understand? I don't need any of your officers coming in to observe what we've found.
No, of course. I will call ahead and let them know you're coming and book the time. A couple of hours, yes? Okay. No worries. Great. Well, I'll get right on that Fathom. I'm going to have to make a few calls. I'm going to have to go over to the office there and make a few calls and get them to bring over a Fathom device from the harbor. But I'll let you know as soon as that comes in.
Excellent. Thank you, Chet.
All right, so where would you guys like to go to now? Chet stays where he is and says, we have a number of vehicles parked over there that you have access to. There are some standard, like, two-seater sports style cars. We have some sedans, a station wagon, a van if you prefer.
I think I need the van to lay out the body bag, and I'll travel through to the morgue with that.
Okay, great.
I'll take a two-seater sports vehicle and attempt to hang a little bit back and forward just to see if we're being followed at all. Mostly so I've got a two-seater sports vehicle.
I'm gonna jump in the morgue van, I guess.
I'm surprised. I thought you would go for the two-seater sports vehicle.
No, I mean, I've got a lot of gear here. I don't know if it's gonna fit in the trunk.
It's true. It's very true.
Plus, I'd like to keep an eye on some of these artifacts. They're,
Yeah, the artifacts coming with the body, and presumably you'll have those as well, Julian, then?
I was assuming so.
Yes. So the van will probably be more effective for both of us.
Lieutenant Ride, will you accompany me, and we'll take point on this one.
Sounds lovely.
Harry can bring it up the rear, as usual.
Okay. You guys take a nice white sports car, and then Susan drives the van with Julian, and Captain Stuart Murray takes a nice red sports car.
It's gotta go.
Probably the way to go. It may just be too much red. Do they have something in a nice blue?
They have one in like a English racing green.
Perfect. Oh yeah, that's ideal.
Standard kind of MG car. Roadster, Yep.
I'll take the time to put a handgun in the glove compartment.
As every good sports car should have.
Yep, I'll take the gloves out so it fits.
Your convoy leaves and winds through the streets. Again, you have to show your press passes at a couple of locations to be able to cross the racetrack. You eventually come to a point where you see a large, old-style building. It's like one of the older Portuguese buildings where the police station and the morgue is set in. The morgue seems to be a more modern building built off to the side. And it looks like, based on the chimney structure that you see out the top of it, that this building contains both a crematorium as well as refrigeration facilities. You come out of the... you pull into the vans, and as you come into the front entrance, the large gate that's there has a little pillar box by the front, and a police officer comes...
Before we arrive...
Yes?
On the drive there, I'd like to turn to Lieutenant Ride and say, Lieutenant Ride, I understand you did some psychopomp nature on the area that we were just in. I need to ask you, now that we're away from the others, is there anything that you were withholding you might have found troubling that did not necessarily want to share with the group?
All I saw was that those statues were malevolent, and there was some kind of, I don't know, presence within them that did not intend good for us. It seemed to see me, if is such a thing as possible.
The potentially trapped ideoform. Could you have a sense of scale or nature? It seemed that the earlier ones could be quite meek, while the far right seemed less than palatable. You have a sense of power, trait.
Did I have a sense of power of it?
You definitely felt a stronger radiance coming from the ones, like the farther it went around the circle, the stronger the radiance was.
Okay. It certainly felt as though the strength of the presence increased. If you know what I'm saying.
I know, I do.
Not something I've encountered before. I'm still adjusting to this ability to see these things. As a woman of science, it's quite confusing to me.
I imagine it's both literally and proverbially a lot to take in.
Well said.
From some of the readings I've done, is this might be quite literally a doomsday clock, not counting something down, but actually unleashing levels of apocalypse from rabbits. Obviously not particularly troublesome, but what it could move to as those shapes moved could be civilization ending. Some of the tomes held back at the Bureau are less than pretty, and some of the cults that Stuart Murray has dealt with has definitely been a threat to large-scale events. I'm troubled that we might be on the tail of something similar.
Well, I'd like to say you've reassured me, but unfortunately you've done quite the opposite. But I guess that's why we're here, is it not?
We're less than halfway there, so if rabbits and deers are the worst of our problems currently, we've got 3 more up in it. I don't think there's nothing that we can't handle between all of us, as long as they don't get to the end of it. So buck up, Lieutenant Ride. You're a good asset and you're a value to the team.
Sure.
All right. So you're driving out front, and you pull up in your white sports car. In tow is the dark gray van and the green MG in the back. And you're waved down by the pillbox guard. It's just like, "Hello, sir. Sorry, what brings you to the police station?"
I'll pull out the Interpol badge.
Oh, very well. Yes, we received notification that you'd be coming in. If you go in, there's Officer Riley will see to your needs.
Thank you, officer.
And you drive in, and you see there's a large car park out the front where you see all kinds of sort of state vehicles. And even on the roof of the newer building, you see there's a small helipad with a light civilian-style helicopter there. You see the large Portuguese-style building with the arched entryways and the pillars across the front, the long balcony on the 2nd and 3rd floors. And you see a few people just standing out the front smoking cigarettes, various officers. As you pull in to park your cars in some obvious parks that seem convenient for you, you see a figure in a long gray coat come out, just a light sort of summer coat. Sort of comes out, and he's a middle-aged Chinese man. Sort of waves you down. Says, hello. You are the people from Interpol. You all step out of the vehicles. We have you booked in for time in the dark room and time in the morgue. Did you need a private meeting room as well, or was there something you'd like to consult with us about?
No, private meeting room will be required, thank you.
Very well. Look, we really appreciate you all taking the time to use our facility. It's not often we get Interpol in Macau on the kind of business that you're on. Something to do with art theft, I hear.
Yes. Relics of an exquisite variety. It'd be a shame to see them go. We'll track them down,
excellent.
don't you worry.
And the robbers, I hear they had been hiding them in the reservoir. Is that correct?
Well, unfortunately, as you know, they say can't talk about an active investigation.
Yeah, very well. Of course. I understand you Interpol agents, have your hands tied. But look, if there's anything that we can do to help, I want you to know the Macau Police Force is at your disposal.
Thank you, officer.
The last thing we want is our national treasures being taken abroad.
And we are very grateful for your assistance. Thank you.
And he shows you into a private office that's actually set in the morgue, and he directs you, Julian Smith Sinclair, down a corridor that leads off from that into the main building, where you find a darkroom facility that's been set up in some old stables.
Fashionable.
They still have half of the stables are still half of the. Sorry.
I said we should just gone back to the hotel. Susie could have cut it up in the bathtub. It'd be about the same level of professionalism.
No, they've really converted it. So they've gone to some effort. They've put in like a false floor. They've rendered the walls, but the other half of the facility is still made up of horse stables for the few horses that they do still use in the force. But you know, it's nice. It gives it a rustic smell.
Yeah, it's very very evocative.
And if you're feeling stressed, you can just go out for a pat.
Regardless, we're gonna start in the. You guys all convene in. Well, you convene in the office, or do you want to go and do your relative projects first?
Braithwaite, do you want to give these facilities a once-over?
I'll take a quick look, but while Susan and Julian are working their respective fields, I'd like to take a look at these artifacts with Lieutenant Ride.
All right, very well. So we're going to say, Susan, who's joining you for the autopsy?
I can stand by with an autopsy.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if they're going to get a sense out of these creatures now that they're no longer there, Valentino. So I'm not sure whether it's worthwhile.
Valentina, do you want to work with the objects or join Julian Smith in the dark room?
I think I'm going to go with Julian Smith.
All right, cool.
Excellent. All right, autopsy.
Oh, okay,
Just
great.
On a careful of the asset scale, how luminescent is Lieutenant Ride currently?
All I'm going to say is that you're lucky it was daytime when you guys arrived at this facility, because the luminescence of their skin went mostly unnoticed. But even stepping inside of the building, you can see that the luminescence is quite obvious.
Is that going to be a problem?
Rainbow.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
As much as I'd love to run you through some developing processes, Valentina, I'm afraid part of the nature of a dark room requires it to be dark. Which...
Wow.
I had a feeling you might say that.
Words hurt, Julian.
At least he's being professional.
Is from outside to the office in the morgue, is that a very short walk?
Yes.
All right. Lieutenant Wright, I'm afraid if you're going to come in here, you're going to need to be confined to the office in the morgue. We cannot have the local constabulary seeing you.
Well, the office is where you're going to be examining these items anyway. Yeah.
I don't think the photos will be of much use to me anyway, but I would like to be there when you examine the objects themselves.
Wise choice.
Okay. So, shall we start with an alien autopsy, fellas?
Yes.
Let's.
In that case, I guess I'll join the autopsy in the meantime before.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Cameron?
And I can't be there because I glow
Good
too
choice.
bright.
All I can offer you is toxic fumes.
They're
Bang
very
on,
toxic
Tracy
here
Diamond.
too.
All right, Susan Mitchell.
Yes.
You engage in laying out this creature with the help of Stuart Murray. You lay it out on the table, and you strip down this strange sort of nylon fabric that it seems to be wearing until you get to the naked body.
Yeah, I put the fabric in. Everything goes in little, zippy lock bags to kind of be processed later as well, because you want to test out whether this fabric is something that's known on Earth as well.
Yep, and it's a different. It seems like the material that is used for the belt is different, some kind of leather, for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
So, give me a biology roll as you examine this corpse.
Come on, baby. Yes. A success, not a great success or anything, but just a success.
All right. So, an initial view of the creature. You realize that it is missing a lot of the organs, so you're judging, you split it open down the middle.
Yep.
And it still has membranes intact that indicate the separation between where the groups of organs are. It does seem to still have its intestines in place,
Okay.
even though a lot of its other organs are missing. They just have had a lot of moisture sucked out of them. Then not all the moisture has been taken from this creature. It's just everything is a lot tougher, it's a lot drier, which for your purposes makes it a little bit easier to separate things and identify what's what.
Yep.
The residual liquid that's left inside of the body seems to be some kind of blue ichor. Not radiantly blue, sort of a darker blue. That sort of pumps through the veins and lends itself to some of the underlying pigmentation of the flesh. Even though the flesh is mostly a browny green, it seems like the blue is kind of affecting that to a certain degree. Did you decide to take the creature that was molting or one of the other ones?
Probably the one that was molting to see the process.
Yep. So you can tell that it looks like the malting was accelerated by the process of desiccation that it went through, and the skin, the loose skin is hanging, like it's just hanging off the surface of it. Like there are two dermal layers that you can see and easily render apart. And with little effort, you're actually able to split, separate, and remove entirely the layer of skin that would have been at the start of its malting process, you suppose. Yep. Before the desiccation took place, and then after the desiccation took place, separated completely from the skin. It was just a matter of taking it off like a very loose oversuit.
So it looks the same sort of shape and structure as the creature itself, it's just a different layer, or does it have a
Absolutely,
different structure?
Yeah, no, this appears to correspond with your experience of seeing snakes and lizards molt.
Okay. And it matches the white scale that I had found in the caves? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, secondly, it appears that these are single, so these creatures, much like many lizards, they don't seem to have sexual organs. And without any of the, or external sexual organs at least, but with a lot of the other organs that were inside missing, you find it hard to ascertain how they reproduce. But from your supposition based on existing species that you're familiar with, it seems like they would either be a egg-laying species or possibly even an amoebic species where there is some evidence within the malted skin itself to indicate the creature could potentially split itself and then birth live young by creating another version of itself, like a secondary set of organs. The amount of separations, membranes, and diaphragms inside of the body easily indicate the capacity to hold multiple sets of organs.
Okay.
Possibly the same, possibly different. It is hard to tell without having all those organs in place.
Okay.
Cracking over the head, though, when you crack open the head, though, you find within the skull there is a physical separation of the skull and the two hemispheres.
Yeah.
And that again goes to indicate the potential for having a split brain activities. And completely independent consciousness existing in one side or the other.
Okay, I'm so excited. This is really exciting. And as I'm animatedly talking about all these findings through, so I can record everything as I'm going, so that it's nice and fresh. I am getting more and more excited about the find. It's just so, yeah.
I would like you to make a power roll, please, Captain Stuart Murray, as you're witnessing the cracking and grinding of all the bones and organs in this alien autopsy.
35, almost a good success.
All right, cool. You managed to hold
We've
your
all been
lunch. Yeah, you've all been there. You've seen strange things before, and this is nothing new, by the gods.
No, usually it's not on animals, though.
All right, cool. That's pretty much all you get. Do you have any questions about that process?
No, I think that was pretty. In terms of age of the creature, does it look like an adult or a child? Is there any sort of indication?
No, this seems like
that?
You're not sure how old these creatures get, but you guess that this thing would be a prime example of an adult creature.
Yep.
It does bear signs from an evolutionary perspective of once having been an amphibious creature, because it still has a small amount of webs on its fingers. Furthermore, you find membranes on its eyes that would suffice to protect the eye underwater. It would close. is the evolution of the amphibian aspects of this creature indicate that they stopped being truly amphibian like over 1 million years ago.
Okay. And am I getting any sort of idea of how long this creature was alive for and also dead for?
You have no real indication, but based on just the understanding of organic matter and how long it takes for moisture to evaporate and things to break down, you suppose any time in the last month.
Okay.
But of course, you also know that this beam happened within the last 3 days.
Yeah, but it could also have been preserved quite well within that space too.
In that environment, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So, meanwhile, in the photo lab.
Okay. Load some reels, mix some developer, agitating. Let's see, how many reels would I have gone through?
Depends how far you want to document, but I would imagine 3 rolls, probably about 64 key shots.
Sounds about right. All right, so load them up. How many canisters can I have on the go at any one time?
It's a pretty good facility, and so you can run them all at the same time. And it's a big, so it's set up for like crime scene photos. So it's set up to, and there's like some big hangars. This is like a 4 meter by 6 meter room, dark room. So you actually like hang up quite a lot of pictures at the same time.
All right, good.
And they have a nice stock of photographic paper, anywhere from your standard 6x4 to the larger sort of almost poster-sized sheets.
All right, I'm gonna go through, see what can be used, see how well I was able to work with the work light down there. I'm a little worried about.
It was pretty bright, and just using the enlarger, you're able to get some pretty good effects out of pretty good images out of it, just changing the brightness and contrast, a little bit of dodging and burning, and it brings up some pretty clear images. The things that are you going to be developing in color?
Yeah, why not? Let's go color. I'll pick a few key ones for some bigger ones to go off to the captain, and the rest I'll do is maybe some nice 8x10 glossies of the creatures.
Nice, gotta have some sweet 8x10 glossies.
Model headshots.
Yeah, you pull out. So as you're going through and you start agitating, and you're agitating some of the larger pictures, in particular the pictures that you took of the still active statuettes, and you're pulling out the first one, and as you do so, you start to see this radiant colored aura that extends from the statue itself, as if the image of the statue has been inverted, causing the shadows to push out from where all the fine tool work in the statues was showing. And it feels very much like a color bleed or a solar flare or even a lens flare is kind of what it looks like. So you're sort of seeing it. But the shape tends to move up and create an amorphous kind of blob around where the carvings on the sides of the chamber emerged up above these statues. At first, you think it's a leak in the canister, but then examining shot after shot, you see that there is no uniformity that would indicate that it is. They seem too random, whereas if the canister was exposed, normally you get bleed coming over from one side, shot after shot, but always they're coming from the center. Yes.
Curious and a little concerning, but it's good to know that I still got the skills, and it wasn't just me. Right, I'm gonna make a few extra enlargements of these ones because I think everyone's gonna be pretty interested to see what's going on there.
The only other time that you've seen things like this is when film has been exposed to radiation.
This is my concern. Yeah, gonna bring this up with the group, maybe.
All right. So, meanwhile, in the office, Valentina Ride and Agent Arthur Braithwaite, you lay out the objects. So you have 12 shards well, you have 7 shards from the broken statues, 1 from each broken statue. You also have 2 rods and 2 of these knuckle duster shaped implements. And then there was 1 kind of diamond shaped implement that would appear to fit into the hand, and you're not sure what that would be. And there are 2 of those. There are 2 like diamond shaped implements that fit comfortably in these creatures' hands. They fit in your hands as well. It's just that the fit is much more awkward. The same with the knuckle duster device, because the fingers are much larger on these creatures, and the spacing a bit wider, indicating which sort of matches up with the idea of them having been amphibious creatures. Yeah, it's a bit of extra spacing. So it's a little bit uncomfortable to get your hands and thumbs in the same places, but it is possible to do. The third one is a rod, which seems very simple in this case. It looks like an ivory rod, and at a glance, it just seems to have it seems to be smooth all over. And then, of course, there is this egg.
So 2 strange diamonds, 2 rods, 4 knuckle dusters.
2 knuckle dusters.
Sorry, 2 knuckle
There's
dusters.
2 of each of the multiples, and then there is 1 of this egg.
And what does the diamond-shaped object appear to be made out of?
Some kind of metallic substance, different to the pewter, but it has a color almost like a platinum.
And the egg appears to have a mechanical nature.
Yes, it reminds you of like combination lock,
Mhm.
or one of those decryptors, a cipher for decrypting code.
Have you seen anything like this before, Agent? Or anything like the symbols we saw in the caverns? Is anything here familiar?
Can I make a roll?
Yeah, you can make either a Cthulhu Mythos roll or an occult roll.
Ooh. I'm gonna spend some luck.
Okay.
Great success.
Okay. So, the puzzle or the cipher seems to you to have most in common, and looking at it more closely, it looks to you to be symbols that correspond to a certain degree with the system of astrological deciphering that was written about or created in the Magus, derived from the Key of Solomon. So lots of lunar signs. What sticks to you about it, even though it has like some symbols that are in fact similar, or numbers that are similar, it seems to correlate to a different astrological chart,
Right.
to your own. So, I mean, it sticks to you that perhaps it's from another part of the galaxy,
Mhm.
or the solar system. Well, galaxy. Yeah.
And anything from the other 3 items?
There seem to be strange devices. You don't know what the rod is for the life of you. The diamond-shaped device, it has no mechanical parts. It appears that there are some divots in it. Do you examine them, like physically, or just integrate? So, as you're examining the triangular device, as your fingers fall into certain patterns, it causes sound to come from the other triangular device.
Oh.
Right. Different kind of clean notes.
Sometimes you have your fingers in such a way that it causes atonal sounds to come from the other one, and sometimes, and give me a listen roll, both of you, Valentina and Arthur Braithwaite.
Nice.
Standard success.
Huge failure.
Yay! It projects the sounds that are local to it through the other device.
Okay, Lieutenant, can you replicate these finger holes on this device, please? And we'll hold them both the same.
Sure thing.
When you both hold them in the same way, it creates a sense of feedback, which. But when one holds it, then local sound goes into the other one, and the other holds it, local sound goes into the other one, like an exchange. It strikes you like a walkie-talkie, to be honest.
Some kind of potential mythic walkie-talkie. The rod, I'll pick it up and give it a tap on the table. Something simple.
A squish and flick.
So like tap it on the table, so like waving it around, and as you notice, like as you sort of wave it, and so you put your fingers in a certain spot on it, and the end of it starts to glow with like a dull orange.
Potentially a torch. Does it shed enough light which would be arguably be able to see fine? I take the dull orange and I poke it on the table.
Give me a spot hidden roll, guys. No.
Great success.
Okay. As you're moving it around the room, and just like waving it around, you notice that as you bring it closer to the broken objects, the color changes, becoming higher on the spectrum, or more intense on the color spectrum.
Right.
So it seems to react to.
What have you noticed?
So it appears that when this rod points, you hold it like just so. Watch the color, and I point it away from them.
Yep.
I point it to the rocks.
Yep. Okay, and it sort of gets noticeably brighter.
That's interesting. It seems to be playing with like the wave of color to indicate something.
Could be a compass. If these creatures are truly amphibian, they could swim from a long way. And while they might have naturally inbuilt mechanisms for understanding their native layout,
Amphibian.
maybe pilgrimage they go on, they might use these devices to point them in the right direction, give them a sense of where they're going.
Does it change color with anything else, or is it just when it's pointing to the other object?
Yes, it changes color when it goes near you.
Astronaut detector.
And the closer you bring it to Valentina, and it seems to start, it actually is reflective of the colors that Valentina emits.
Lots of them.
I'll point it at where the reservoir is.
Pointing it in the direction of the reservoir doesn't peak. It goes back to sort of that dull brown color.
Alright, so you get quite close.
Interesting.
Or dull orange, sorry.
Have there been any studies done on me to kind of test the light that I emit for kind of...
Yes, there has been, and the light that you emit is a form of radiation, but it's been deemed that radiation is not harmful to living creatures.
Okay. I impart this knowledge. Well, Arthur, all I can tell you is that I emit radiation, so perhaps this device somehow interacts with what we call radiation.
Well, I guess the interesting thing is then these, what we consider dormant rocks, are actually not necessarily as dormant as we thought. I point the stick at the knuckle dusters as well as the walkie-talkie.
There doesn't seem to be any radiation coming out from the knuckle dusters. Nothing more than basically, once you've hit the right finger positioning, it picks up the dull orange. It doesn't change color when it goes close to them. And at this point, you all reconvene. You guys have had some time trying to work out the cipher. You've been playing around with the rods. You've been playing around with the triangles. Maybe testing its range a little bit.
My guts.
And then Julian Smith Sinclair comes in with a bunch of sheets. And Susan Mitchell walks in carrying a ledger with a bunch of notes written on it and a small recording device, which they've been busy recording stuff. accompanied by Captain Stuart Martin. So you all reconvene in the office. There's also a slide projector in the office if you want to just print off some slides and run them through. Julian Smith Sinclair.
Now everyone has to present for 5 minutes their findings.
Look at slide 1.
You can see. I'm just gonna use the big prints. I spent a lot of time making these look good, I think. So I'm just gonna put it on the board. Is there?
There's a cork board over. You sort of pin them up to the cork board.
Need red string. Right. If no one mind, I'm gonna jump in and go first because I've noticed a few things that concern me. As you can see here, this kind of colored distortion. At first I thought it was something to do with the photographic process or some mistake in the actual photo taking, but it's not. This distortion is something that I've seen before as a result of radiation. So
interesting.
And a little concerning.
It is a little concerning, but also interesting.
Yeah.
We have found radiation detection rods.
Yes, it appears that we've inspected some of the items that these creatures were carrying, and it appears as though not only did they have some kind of communication device that emits sound when held in particular ways, but they also had a rod that seems to change color depending on how close it is to what we can only assume is radiation. Or rather, it changed color around me.
Oh, you're radioactive too?
No, in a safe way. In a safe way, I'm told.
Okay.
For the sake of science, Julian, can you take a photograph of Valentina and see if she has the same distortion as the photos of the objects?
Would she have been caught in any of the photos that I was taking of the?
Yes, absolutely. And you do notice that there is a mild bleed from her, but not nearly as intense as these other statues.
All right, cool. Relate that to the group. This brings us to our second picture. There is some slight bleed from Valentina, which does explain it, but nowhere near to the same degree that we're seeing from these artifacts. The artifacts that we've all been in very close proximity with, might I add.
So we should probably have some sort of testing done on ourselves to see what sort of exposure we have had to the radiation.
I point the rods at each of us.
You get the same thing. It seems like everything in the room, apart from the fragments of the broken statues and Valentina themselves, just respond in this standard sort of dull orange glow. Valentina creates this rainbow opalescent sort of colors to appear along the length of the rod within the first inch of it. And the statues, when you go near them, the color starts to change from an orange into a sort of brighter green, yellow glow.
Yes, it appears these rocks are not quite as dormant as we first thought, though I suspect the remaining statues are significantly more so.
As much as I respect the fact that you have detected this that picks up radiation, I would like to still do some more scientific tests on us to just see the extent of the radiation exposure.
Yes, especially if it's even picked up by a Geiger counter.
Yeah.
And Susan, what did you find? These creatures, what did you note of them?
So it looked like it had this rather blue sort of ichor-like, for the blood, it was quite dried out. The intestines were still there though, surprisingly. Many of the organs had disappeared. I couldn't find any sexual organs. Possibly it could be like a reptile though, where it lays eggs, or even potentially like an amoeba. What I did notice within the brain is there was a physical separation of the skull and the two hemispheres, so possible split in personality in terms of separate consciousness that could exist within this creature, which could also suggest being able to divide as its breeding mechanism. I believe it was amphibious at one stage. There was webbing and membranes on the eyes. It possibly died anytime within the last month.
And there were 3 creatures in there, is that right? 3?
Yes.
And
this
how
was
many
the most
objects
recent.
did we find again?
2 of most of the objects, I believe.
The only object you haven't examined thoroughly is the strange knuckle duster with the crystalline substance down the front of it.
I'll slip a hand in.
Go to the egg.
Okay, cool. You play around with it. Everybody can give me a luck roll.
Play around.
Got a 39.
Uh-huh.
Oh, good.
18.
Lucky, because I spent a lot.
I am not rolling well. 99.
Okay.
You have
wow.
100 luck?
I haven't rolled below 80 this time around.
Although with the 99 in the room, I don't think it matters anymore.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Cool.
I think. Yeah, 63 over 60.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all right. So you're examining it, and Valentina, it's actually probably lucky that you were the unluckiest person in the room at this time, because suddenly your sixth sense activates, and you have a distinct sense of extreme danger, which causes you to dive to the side of the room as a vertical beam of light emits straight out of the facing position of this device. It cuts through the table, disintegrating it completely, hits the wall, disintegrates a vertical line in the wall. The device you managed to activate for, give me a d6 roll.
Me?
Yeah.
4.
4 seconds. Boom! And the solid brick wall of the structure just disintegrates, and you see through it into the next room and the office that is blessedly unoccupied. Label tables and furniture disappears, and it seems to be halfway through eating through the adjacent wall when it dissipates.
Ooh. The captain is going to look through the hole and
Slowly
Back
stand
at
up
the
from
knuckle
where I
duster.
threw myself.
Everybody can. So, and Julian Smith Sinclair, you're sort of like, you're all taken aback by it, but Julian and Valentina, you notice that the rod that you're. Well, I'm just going to say one of you is holding Valentina. You're holding the rod at the moment, sort of testing it and waving it around, and you sort of look at the rod. And during the discharge, the rod goes to an intense white and goes a full 7 inches down the length of the shaft.
Wow.
well, now I'm interested.
So you sort of get the impression that there's a meter, also that it is a meter that indicates from the tip
That's what it takes.
down the shaft, down the length of the shaft, and the more intense, the farther down the shaft it goes.
Right. I would suggest we all take some iodine pills at our soonest convenience.
Yes, this is definitely going to show up that ether wave gun back at the office. I'll give it that.
The crystalline structure
Oh
on the
no, I
front.
don't think we should play with it anymore.
Yeah.
Just,
I agree. We should probably pop these ones down. For
but perhaps that explains the big white light that brought us here to begin with. I'm not sure.
Maybe. I want to look at the crystalline structure, and in the light, can I see what type of stone it is? I'm not touching it. I'm just visually observing it.
It seems to be no mineral that you recognize without. You'd need a lab.
Yep.
You need a chemical lab.
My God, what
Right.
if there is a spaceship up there? If this is their handheld weapon, and there was lights from the sky powerful enough to drill a hole hundreds of yards deep into the earth, what if there's a goddamn ship?
There were
What if it didn't come from below?
Definitely dealing with something extraterrestrial here. Can I have a look at the egg again? I'll pick up the egg.
Yes. Okay. Of course.
That-
I mean,
that
didn't you
egg
mention
has
this looks like it comes from another solar system?
It does. The constellations aren't from here.
And can I inspect it and see if can I actually do a read object on it? 1 success, 1 failure.
Okay.
It's important.
So you get. Actually, what did you succeed on? Images or impressions?
I'll say images.
Okay. So you get a series of flashes. You see you see a sequence that is activated, and you see like the final sequence that's sort of logged in. You see the statue shatter, which is the last statue, and you see traces of energy rushing towards you. You feel you see the object clenched tight. You see hands clenched tight around the object and bring it closer to the body. And you feel, I guess, you see the hands start to shrivel and shrink before your very eyes. But something that the statue shatters, something rushes out of it into the body, and then you see the life fading from the body. And then you see something emerge on the other side, something intensely colorful that had sort of absorbed the life and radiance of this creature and now moves on. But you feel that still hungers.
Okay, I relate all of what I've seen to the party. It seems like these creatures have come here to perhaps sacrifice themselves or somehow ascend to become something else.
To release something by the looks of things.
Malevolent intelligences. I need to place a quick call. I need to get the observatories online to check if there's anything in the skies.
Okay. A quick look looking at the photos. So Julian Smith Sinclair has hung up all these photos, and you're looking at the final position, and it is still in the final position, but you know which line of code was being focused on Valentina. And looking up at the statue and the symbols on the statue, you can see how that line of code directly correlates to the third of the three statues, the one that had the images of the strange turtle creature above.
Can I inspect all the codes I can see in the photos and look for the patterns?
Give me an idea roll, knowledge. So just roll knowledge.
I was hoping to use math.
Yeah, you can use math, in fact. You can use math, astrology, or knowledge.
It is a good success.
All right, cool. Yes, from this, you can extrapolate what codes relate to which of the other statues and which codes relate to the unbroken statues. If you wanted to, you could put yourself in this position and unleash these other statues.
Oh.
Something to think about.
Dun, dun, dun. I know. I haven't aired that part, so.
I had collected a sample of the water, and I just tested it for, basic kind of, algae and things like that. Do you want to point the rod at this little sample of water and just see if it picks up any of the radiation?
Doesn't pick up anything more than the ambient nature of the room.
Okay.
From what you can guess.
All right, so it needs more detailed inspection.
So I do relate to the party the relationship between the kind of code and the different rituals and where you need to stand and how it relates to the egg.
Yeah.
Basically, it's all a big puzzle. Yay!
Dogs love their puzzles.
Perhaps not
Love puzzles.
Braithwaite, in
Great.
the interest of safety, did you do anything specific to activate your death ray? Or did you just stick your fingers through?
Can you recall what you did when the death ray was activated?
Apart from Shriek, we got that.
Once you've got your positions in finger lock 4, 5, and 6, you give it a squeeze with the thumb on top, and kaboom.
Did you feel anything inside you as it was happening? Was there any kind of feedback? Any kind of that weird
Recoil?
any kind of tingle?
There was an extreme sense of surprise.
We also got that.
I got the tingly sense of anticipation.
Now, bear with me. I think we should do it again, just to be sure.
No.
Maybe not through the office wall, maybe...
And at this point, you
Down in a
see a person walk back into the office, like looking through the walls. You see someone come back into the office. And they're, whoa, hey, this is look down. It's like a female police officer. Hello?
Thank goodness you've come. There was a smell of gas, and then all of a sudden the wall just. I'm
What?
gonna use fast
It's
talk.
60s and she's a woman. You can just be like, move on, sweetheart.
I'll have a tea, thanks.
He looks at you and is like, oh, well, I guess I should call this in. I'll just inform I'll get somebody higher ranked than myself. Hold on. And she runs
It's
off.
all right. We'll have some people
Probably
from our
best
team come in and patch it. It seems that there might be some structural inefficiencies in one of these older buildings. Obviously, poor architecture, bribed somewhere along the line.
This is the new new building.
Doctor, you've studied architecture. What's your thoughts on this?
Yes, I have. Why not? Probably due to the recent seismic activity, I'd say we could be looking at some generalized instability in the region, almost like an aftershock. Probably damaged a gas line, something like that, leading to this. It was inevitable, really.
Why is
tried
He
to
runs
say
off to get
hidden.
somebody of higher rank to come back. And in fact, a small gaggle of 3 senior police officers come into the room, including the man that you met with on arrival. And they're like, oh, what's going on here? My goodness.
I move as close as possible to the brightest part of the room.
Okay.
I point the knuckle duster torch at her so she can hide in its light.
Do you?
No, I do not. Not at all.
Muzzle duster.
I'm gonna stand in
I'm just
front.
like throwing like tea towels over the things, and I just like looking at Susan. I'm like, how's
I happen to be here. Pull rank, come on.
All right, so he comes in, he goes, what's going on here? He sort of looks around. He doesn't seem to notice Valentina at the moment. You step into the light of a window, you go into the corridor, and you're like,
Sorry, officer, this is Interpol business.
Interpol business just tore a hole through several walls in my precinct. Well, can you possibly explain this to me?
As Dr. Julian was telling your colleague, there's been some seismic activity that has created some structural inadequacies in your walls.
Look, I've seen seismic activity before, but give me a persuasion fast talk roll.
I don't have any of that.
I do.
That's what we were doing.
I do.
Oh no, I've got some persuasion. Oh,
That
yes,
is
success.
a success.
Okay,
Everyone's
awesome. He's like, look, I don't know what you guys are up to here, but I can't have any more disturbances like this. This is unfounded. I can't quite understand what's happened here. You seem to have blasted a hole in the wall. Did you bring dynamite into my building? I will lodge an official complaint.
Can I do
Yes.
read thoughts?
Yes.
Read surface thoughts?
Yes.
Okay. Do I need to roll for this? Oh, definitely success.
All right. He's you reading his surface thoughts. He's like, he literally does not know what to make of it. He's trying to think that it's dynamite. He's thinking, why did I ever get involved with Interpol? Like, I thought Interpol were great. I wanted to be an Interpol officer when I was a kid, but I failed the exams, and now I see that they're here.
Okay,
It's
I'm
causing
gonna
me trouble in my job. So there's like a cross between intense jealousy and
I'm gonna stay near the light, but try and
some
reassure him and be like, I know it doesn't seem like it will make much sense, but as an Interpol agent yourself, you'll understand that some things you'll know eventually.
okay.
And I believe that you have the ability that one day you'll be involved in helping us to solve these kinds of mysteries.
Okay, so you can make a persuasion fast talk roll.
Okay, good. I rolled 6 over 5.
That 1 point of luck.
Yeah, 1 point of
Yeah,
luck.
I'll use 1 point of luck to succeed. Thanks.
You're just too honest. Like you look at Valentina as she's like struggling. You see her eyes like rolling off to the right side, going, oh, left side, going, yeah. So we all. But for some reason, he seems to respond to it. You're not quite sure why. He's like, okay, sure. Look, I'll have people come in and clean this up, but
Look, as of course, with standard procedure of Interpol will work and provide labor and costing to repair any incidental damages and wear and tear that may occur during the course of an investigation.
Look, very well, I understand. I'll get the invoice drawn up and we'll move you to another office, obviously. Just take the next one down the hall. It should be fine. I believe it also has a slide projector set up in it.
Excellent. We'll just finish up here. We'll be there in an hour.
Great. Okay. Just don't do this again. Seriously, dynamite. Fuck. And he walks away. You were once more left alone in the room, apart from a couple of janitors who move in to start tidying up the mess that you made.
So we need to put this body in a secure position as well, rather than just storing it randomly in this morgue, unless we have some sort of deal that allows us to do it.
I mean, you could put it under lock and key in the morgue.
Or do we just cremate it at this point and use the basic evidence that I've already got from it? Obviously, there was photos taken throughout the process.
Mm-hmm.
Let's lock it up here, I think.
Okay.
I can't imagine. Well, the Russians might try and get it, but I think we have the most dangerous aspects of this case in these items here.
Speaking of, what are we going to do to stop anybody accidentally shaving their head off with those?
I'll keep them on my person for the time being.
Both of them?
Yeah, I'll just basically pocket and take any other objects out of them. How big are they? Like, knuckle dusters are quite compact. These things...
Yeah, so these things, they extend probably about 1.5 inches above and below your fist as you hold it, and they project through 2.5 inches at the most from the front of your fist. So they're quite a chunky thing, and they're about 1.5 inches wide.
You could carry them in a camera case.
Yes.
We pad them carefully so we don't accidentally activate them.
No, they would definitely fit in your pocket though quite comfortably. They'd be no bigger than the sheer size of a pistol.
All right, I'll put them in.
Careful when you're reaching for your wallet.
Yes, no.
It took quite an intricate series of hand movements to get to that point. You were really exploring it for quite some time when you accidentally set it off.
I'm wondering if they are just putting out some general ambient radiation as well, so you might want to be cautious with that.
Not according to the wand.
The wand doesn't activate next to them.
It did activate when they were firing.
Definitely when they were fired, but not when they're dormant.
Now, of course, we are still waiting to cross-check that against a Geiger counter.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd feel a lot more comfortable in maybe some sort of lead box.
Yeah.
Again, reading it back, what I do need to do is make a phone call to Interpol connections for astrology labs, because if this light came from the sky and it replicates the effects of these devices, we could have some kind of cosmic vessel above Macau that is able to effectively level cities.
This is of concern.
What I'm really curious about is whether if we say blast something in a slightly more secluded location, we'll also get the cool tattoo carvings.
Yes, that is the other piece of peculiarity.
And it can be tested.
The shards that we brought back, does this not have any indication as to whether they have been broken by force, internal, external? Did these...
It seems they were broken either by an extreme force, as in the shift between heat and cold in an environment, but the pattern, there was a radial pattern to how they broke apart, indicating that the force came from the inside.
Okay.
The inside of the
Statue.
the statue itself?
Even though, upon examination of the statues, they seemed completely solid.
Okay.
So we could all be getting radiation poisoning. There could be an alien ship about to blast the planet, and these creatures have come here seemingly to somehow summon or interact with some other kind of larger being.
To accelerate the evolution of these other creatures.
I know, I love this job too.
It is spectacular, I'll give it that. Never a dull... No, there are many dull days. Generally not dull days at the Bureau. Let me make this phone call. Susan, if you're able to procure us a Geiger counter.
Sure, I can.
Julian, if you're able to, with the help of Lieutenant Ride, secure these items and we can move to the other office they have for us so we're not continue to be disturbed. And we'll see what we can do by setting up a test site for these devices and see if they do leave the telltale signs that occurred from the larger boring ray.
I'm going to track down Officer Riley and see if he can get some sort of Geiger counter for us.
Okay, you're about to do this when you get a call on the radio. Your radio pings, and it's Chet. It comes into you all have little earpieces, essentially, so you all get the signal. Like, hey, Chet here, just calling in. We did the Fathom read, and we just wanted to let you all know that it went quite deep.
How deep?
Quite deep sounds like you capped out.
No. We tethered a second Fathom reader onto the first when we ran out of line, but we got down to 500 fathoms.
500 fathoms.
That's
So-
about
Just so you all know, I spent a lot of time in the ocean.
that's about 800 meters for your reference,
There you go.
give or take.
800 meters.
Is that well beyond any of our known
What we count in America.
sort of...
No, well, I mean,
No,
to
no,
give you an indication, like the Marianas Trench is
Oh,
like 11,000 meters.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. But for a reservoir,
For a reservoir, it's quite deep.
certainly deeper than
800 meters is very deep.
because it'd go past that, like, water level.
I
water
tell you what,
table.
Braithwaite, I'd love to have a look at the bottom of that.
Chet, can you set up that diving bell for a deep dive?
I mean, I can set up the diving bell for a deep dive, but you wouldn't be able to go far out of it. The pressure that deep is going to start playing on the existing equipment that we have. I mean, the best bet would be to try and requisition some kind of deep-sea diving apparatus. You'd need a pressurized suit to go down there. Or even a spacesuit might be even better equipped to handle that kind of depth.
Ooh.
Knew this was
We
gonna happen
start
again.
getting these wheels in motion.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not sure if I can. I believe that your organization, you're probably better off calling your headquarters because you'd have more pull than I would.
All right.
I mean, I'm just acting on the ground as an Interpol agent, but I know that your agency has a greater sway.
Okay, looks like we have a couple of calls to make.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chet.
I'll make some calls.
There was one other thing, though. I can tell you for certain that when we pulled it up, we were using a nylon rope, and the bottommost fathom, the weight where it was attached, it seemed the rope was slightly burned when we pulled it back up, as if it had melted from something.
Oh. Like heat-based or...
I mean, I can only imagine that's what it usually reacts to, but there was no carbonization. It just seemed to have shrunk and melted, like it all solidified. I don't know. You know how it is when you burn a nylon
Sure.
rope, it kind of shrinks, but it didn't look like it was a naked flame. There was no like
You need
blackness
to
on the
get
surface.
a Geiger counter to that rope.
Yes.
It's going to be a long cable, but
No. The rope
Just
you've
the
just
end of
pulled
the-
up, I need a Geiger counter reading off it.
I can definitely source one. There's a local electronics store that sells them. I mean, ever since the Cold War started, you've been able to get commercially available Geiger counters at a lot of places.
Small mercies.
Whether they're effective or not. And what levels they go up to.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're made all over the place. A lot of them are made on Hong Kong, hilariously, but you can get more expensive ones. All I'm saying is that's easily available. Apart from that, perhaps going to the university.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Chet.
Or even the hospital.
Yes.
Hmm.
They would have them in case of nuclear emergencies.
All right, very well, guys. Look, I'll let you know if anything else comes up. I need to say, though, we've caught sight of a couple of strange dudes in brown suits snooping around. They seem to be
Strange dudes in brown suits.
Russians.
Yeah, beards. I don't know. We didn't talk to them, but they definitely were paying attention to what we were doing with the fathom meter, and yeah.
We're going to be closed off from that if we don't get to the other side of it before tomorrow morning then too.
There is a chopper we can requisition though.
You will be able to access it still. There are some like pedestrian bridges that go over. It's just your freedom by vehicle will be restricted at that point.
Okay.
We should.
You organize some cars for us on both sides of the raceway before tomorrow kicks in.
I can just drive and park some of the cars and walk back.
Okay. But I need you to make that call first.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to it.
Okay. I'm sourcing a Geiger counter.
Yep. I'm calling in to requisition a submarine or a deep diving suit.
I'm going to find maybe see some kind of lead apron or something we can wrap these up in before we all start glowing.
Yep. Cool. Some lead line boxes, and you even find. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go around, and we will start with Captain Stuart Murray. Your activities for the next few hours.
Yep, so I'm going to put the call into Dr. Hesh or the nearest requisition thing to make the call for the deep dive equipment. Then I'm going to drive a car or two into the inside section of the walking bridges so that once we do cross over, we have access to some relatively fast vehicles. So you call, the vehicles are fine, it's easy to move stuff around. You call the agency and they do a little bit of research and they say, look, I think the best option, we saw a news article the other day and just not far away in Hong Kong, there's a deep sea research vessel and they've got a small 2-man pod that can go down quite deep, and it's got like little pincers attached to it. Sounds perfect.
But that'll take I mean, we could fly it over. We could requisition it from them and fly it over in a cargo plane. We could probably get it to you in 5 or 6 hours.
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
At most, but that's going to mean pulling some strings. So, you know. It's going to have to be important, is what I'm saying.
Without flying it over, are we looking at a week plus?
No, it shouldn't take more than a few days. It just depends how urgently you need it.
Yeah, pull the strings.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll have it to you by tonight. Probably about well, what time is it now? It's probably about midday at this point. No, midday, probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon by the time you guys have finished all your research. So yeah, it would be this evening. So 8 or 9 o'clock, he's saying.
Okay.
And we'll have it for you at the airport at that point. All right.
Following the car shuttling, I'm going to grab something nippy like a motorbike and just see if I can spot some of these brown dudes and spend a chunk of the afternoon trying to find them.
Some counter surveillance. Classic counter surveillance. All right, cool. Awesome. Susan Mitchell.
The hospital probably has a Geiger counter, but I dare say they won't let me walk away with it. So I'm going to try and track down somewhere where I can get one that I'll be able to have personally so I can continue to use it.
So there is a local university, which you might be able to commission one, requisition from, but you can also go trawling through some of the local appliance stores. Or electronic specialty stores.
Try the specialty stores to start off with, just because I don't want to stir
give me a luck roll.
Too much curiosity. Oh yeah, baby. 3.
Damn, that's lucky.
All right, cool. So, I mean, look, you find a lot of like personal protection equipment and home security. Make sure you're safe in the light of nuclear disaster kits. But a lot of them look like they were ordered out the back of a comic book.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the it doesn't have the kind of readings you're looking for. But eventually, you're sort of walking past and you see like a secondhand goods store, and in the front window of the secondhand goods store you see an old leather-bound box which is open, and it is in fact a Geiger counter.
Perfect. I will purchase that, and Also get some iodine tablets for everyone and track everyone down wherever they may be at different points during the day as much as possible. So
Yep, and you're also fighting the crowds, guys, because it's filling up, and as you get later and later into the evening, a party atmosphere is really starting to fill the streets with people like running around wearing like less and less clothing. Like all the girls are in their like short skirts or short dresses, or even pants, but still wearing very sheer tops to take advantage of the tropical weather. Lots of people from all over the world, a large contingent of Japanese tourists, people yapping on about their favorites to win. There are a few teams in particular that are picked to be like the top contenders in this, and a newcomer from Poland who's got a brand new car, which seems to be particularly interesting. People are boasting about the Renault engine. But as you stroll around, you sort of like pushing through the crowds, and give me a spot hidden roll.
No success.
No worries. Valentina, Ride.
Mm-hmm.
What are you up to for the afternoon?
Not really sure what I'm going to be doing. Well, I kind of have to lay low because no one can really see me.
Do you want to take a rest? Spend 4 hours just lying low and rejuvenating.
That might be a good idea.
All right.
I wouldn't mind checking out the horses too.
Okay, cool.
Being a southern girl.
Yeah, of course. So you take some time to examine the horses, and then you retire to the hotel where you take some time to rest. And you're much less luminescent at this point.
Woo! Much less luminescent. More able to be seen by public.
But as
Not
you
able to be seen by public.
Yeah. As you take your nap, you are visited by images. You feel this one sensation of floating over the city. You're sort of looking down upon the sprawl of the streets. It's like everything is going in fast forward. You can see the cars on the racetrack just zooming around, the tracer trails of their lights rushing behind, illuminating this sort of network of people, places, and vehicles. You feel the vibrancy of the world below, but you also feel a hunger for the energy of those beings. You flash, you find yourself in the hills, rushing through like the wind, seeing everything. You can see the trees, you can see through the darkness, even though in the nighttime it's such an obscure thing, but you can tell that it's nighttime, but you can see everything with crystal clarity. Beyond that, every living thing radiates an additional aura, as if you can see in multiple spectrums beyond your normal scope. As you gallop through the wilderness, you feel the thundering of your hooves and your legs, and you feel this absorbing nature from all of the life. It's filling you with a vibration and strength. You come up to the top of the hill and you stand on a rock outcropping, again looking over the city of Macau in the Bay Area. You see the reservoir, you see a radiant light surfacing, or just shimmering along the surface. And then you feel that you are deep in the ocean, swimming along. Above you, shapes, lights, flashing. Fish swimming around you. Some of them you just are drawn to. Larger ones you come in contact with and you draw energy from. And then it simmers away and you come back to yourself and the dream and the sleep. Until eventually you wake up to a knock on the door. But we'll get back to that. Julian Smith Sinclair, what are you doing with your afternoon?
I am...
Early evening.
Afternoon to early evening. Where are the artifacts at the moment? Are they...
Wherever you want them to be. You had them with you in the office.
Alright, I'm gonna suss out... is there any kind anything lead lined or anything that I could put these in for the moment?
In this environment, you sort of looking around. Do you want to ask around the office?
Yeah, I'll ask a few people.
All right. They're like, we funnily enough, I mean, we don't have any lead-lined boxes, but we have some old radioactive cleanup equipment. There's some like lead-lined suits that we've got about there. There's like about 7 suits that we had. I mean, back during the war, everyone was worried about the bomb, and the government just picked some up as a manner of precaution for dealing with radioactive materials. So we've got a little stockpile. There's actually a bunker beneath this building. We don't particularly have any boxes, but I think there might be some bags. I don't know. You're welcome to go down and have a look. No one's been down there in like 15 years.
All right, I'm gonna go down, have a rifle around. What do I need to roll for? For a bag or like cloth kind of?
Yeah, just give me a luck roll.
That's a pass.
Cool. All right. So first thing you find is a couple of old Geiger counters. They're actually exactly the same model as the one that you found, Susan Mitchell. Looks like there might have been more of them hanging on pegs, but maybe somebody took one and sold it on.
Look, less us getting it from an off-shelf supplier.
Yeah. You do find 7 of these radiation suits, and they're quite heavy lead-lined suits, where the lead is sort of woven into the fabric, and they've got these heavy heads with like little oxygen supply. Well, they're not full oxygen supplies, they're little filtration devices, but they're a pretty universal join, and you could just as easily connect it into like the oxygen tanks that you were driving with, as well as you could this filter. That said, you also find 3 bags that are made out of exactly the same fabric, and they're zip-up fold-over bags, very similar in their construction to the portable photographic darkrooms.
There, we'll grab one of those. Gonna pop my little guys in that.
Okay.
And I am going to head out for a bit. I'm going to get a pork chop bun, because apparently here in Macau, that's that and egg tarts are pretty much what you're going to do, and I'm starving.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And I am going to head to the library. It's library time. I'm gonna head to.
What? I thought it was gonna be casino time.
This is code for the roulette table, isn't it, Julian?
Later. No one wants to be that guy in the casino in the middle of the day. It's a bad look.
You should know. You've been there often enough.
Yeah. And the library that I'm heading to is one I've heard a lot about. I've always wanted to see the Sir Robert Hotung Library.
Okay. Yep.
Beautiful building. It was an old mansion. They've got some really interesting antiquities there. I'm going to head there.
Okay.
And I am going to have a little dig around the history of the area, go through some folios, layouts, maps, that kind of thing. I'm specifically looking to... I doubt they're going to have anything... I already know about Scythian art and architecture, but I'm looking for anything that might indicate why this
site.
Why this site. I don't think... there's plenty of bodies of water all over the world that they could have chosen.
Give me a library use.
Yes. That is a... Wow, that's a fail, but I'm going to spend 5 luck points to make it
a success.
Yes.
All right. So you coast through a lot of stuff. Most of the history of Macau deals with the extended Chinese population, who pretty much owned it. So China, during its imperial days, ultimately claimed Macau as its own. Talks about the colonies and the slow takeover of Portugal, and essentially the lease that was then offered by China to Portuguese settlers. Very kind of run-of-the-mill standard stuff that you're reasonably familiar with from, modern history. And you sort of like going through, and then you sort of give up on that for a while, and you go for a bit of light reading, and you turn into some of the folklore of the area. And it seems that prior to the establishment of the reservoir, that land, to the native people, was designated as a sacred site before it was dug up and then filled with water.
Good to know.
But they're just stories, essentially. They just talk about old stories. It seems like things that have just been filtered down. There were a couple of stones there that seemed significant at one point, and there are some drawings of those stones, and you do see similar animal patterns to the Sikhthi and stuff, but it appears that those were stolen at some point, and by the time the reservoir was constructed, they were no longer there, and there was no longer any physical historical significance to the site. That said, there is a chance that some of these stones may still be in circulation in collections around the world, or possibly even in the area.
Probably England.
But they refer to stones of various sizes that had these patterns on them, and you see a few drawings of some of those stones. But archaeologists don't seem to take this text particularly seriously. It's just an interesting collector's guide written by some locals.
Mm-hmm. And there's no chance that any of these stones would be there's no indication that these stones would be in a collection anywhere here locally, right? They're probably some
I know that they say, so they talk about locals who have collections of these stones and how they're interesting. They talk about modern fakes. This book's about 20 years old. They in particular cite one market on the mainland side, just near the Cambos Garden Grotto. Camoes Garden and Grotto. Luis de Camoes Garden and Grotto. I apologize for the enunciation. Near the inner harbor. And you know that there are some old shops there where they may trade these stones.
I might head on down there and see if there's anyone who I might be able to talk to about it.
No, that's cool. You're heading down that way at about 6:30 in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Agent Arthur Braithwaite.
Yes.
Good.
So I'm going to make my way to a phone and actually dial back to the bunker.
Ring. Yep. So Dr. Hess's secretary is on the phone. The same person that I believe you talked to, Captain Stuart Murray. Like, hello, Agent Braithwaite. Pleased to hear from you.
Yes. Two things. Has Captain Stuart Murray called ahead to order our diving equipment?
No, I don't believe so. He did call in, and we are organizing to have shipped over a deep sea exploration probe. So it's a two-man device with some pincers and clamps on it, and some bags so you can collect samples and some lights. And it should be sufficient. It has the capacity to go down to 3,000 meters.
Perfect. We'll only be going down probably 800 or so, but I suspect there might be some radiation issues we need to deal with, but we'll look into that as we come to it.
Okay, I'm not sure how kitted out this is for that.
That's all right. We'll deal with it in the field, as they say.
Okay.
The second thing is, so that light ray that hit Macau.
Yes.
Brought a 500-foot wide, 800-meter deep hole into Macau. We've found devices of a handheld style emitting a similar light beam that disintegrate material. When exposed, in about 4 seconds, it will cut through 2 brick walls. Very
remarkable.
My concern is we've also found a egg-shaped device, which is a constellation marker. Uses patterns, but the constellations don't come from our galaxy.
Okay.
My concern is there may be a vessel in orbit with a beam capable of quite substantial destruction. If this is an extraterrestrial incursion, we need to know if there's something there, so we need the sky scan.
We'll get onto it straight away.
Thank you.
All right. So, meanwhile, I'm going to say that Julian Smith Sinclair, you drop by the hotel briefly on your way to the south side for a change of clothes, and you pick up and you reconvene with everybody there before you move on to your next location. Susan Mitchell has returned to the hotel bearing a Geiger counter,
And some iodine tablets. Have those?
iodine tablets, and Valentina Ride has just reawoken from a restful slumber.
I don't think I should give you iodine tablets.
And Captain Stuart Murray, even though you got slightly distracted checking out some cars on the way back, particularly you had the opportunity to stop and watch this Alpine A270 with the Renault engine just like zoom around the track a couple of times.
I would not have thought it.
You caught them at the pit stop. Looks like it's got a Polish flag flying on it. Guy called Mauro Bianchi, from what you can tell.
Nice.
From what some other passers-by, like a guy stops by, that's Mario Bianchi. He's got a revolutionary machine there.
Looks it. I think the Brits are in this year.
The Brits, they're way out. My money's on the Japanese, but that thing, well, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a contender.
Well, we'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, up early. See you around the parties. I'll be up late.
Damn straight.
All right, cool. He sort of waddles off with a wide strut. But you all rendezvous back at the hotel room at this point.
I check everyone for radiation levels and see whether they are within acceptable levels.
So Valentina is giving off... Valentina doesn't actually seem to be giving off a radiation, so it doesn't seem like the Geiger counters that you're using pick up the radiation that Valentina emits.
Yep. Are the artifacts here?
Yes, I believe you've all brought everything back except for the body, which you left locked up at the morgue.
Yeah, because I'll use the artifact that was giving off the radiation, because the rods were picking up stuff, weren't they? Background.
Yes.
Just to check and see that it's effective.
Yes, it does seem like there's a bit of background radiation coming off them, but not to a dangerous level.
Yep, and I check everybody to see how they are.
They all seem to be within normal parameters, slightly above. You get like mild readings off of everyone.
Okay.
Slightly above normal, but nothing significant. Nothing that would threaten the health.
Okay.
So it seems like these things are at least not immediately threatening to us.
No.
Well, better safe than sorry. I'll down some iodine tablets with a gin and tonic.
On a day for the next few days, just to kind of, while we're being exposed to this sort of level. And but not you, Valentina. I don't know whether it would be safe for your body to interact with this. If you have your own natural radiation, then I'm not going to interfere with your nutritional requirements.
I assume when they determined that I was radioactive in some way that I would have been given this knowledge?
Yes.
So should I take them? Am I allowed to? Will it hurt me?
You don't believe so.
Okay. No, better safe than sorry, as the captain has said. Please.
Okay.
How luminous is Lieutenant Ride now?
Much less. Yeah.
Significantly less.
Yes.
Good.
A third of my luminosity now.
Yeah. But being the evening and that the sun has gone down, you probably want to stay in well-lit districts.
Okay, I think I might do a combination of makeup and perhaps some kind of just a lot of coverings. So
Okay, yeah, fair
hats,
enough.
scarves, the kind of thing. Basically make myself look like a baby I'm a secret celebrity.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are plenty of them getting around at the time. And look, there are plenty of celebrities getting around at the moment in Macau around the race who are not trying to be secret as well. But there are also some who are. All right, so you now feel like you're confident in being able to step out without attracting too much attention.
So, what, now that we've reconvened, anything to bring to the table from anyone?
I'm going to relate what little I picked up at the library. Not much to report in that, but there is some sense that maybe this particular location is of some significance. It was chosen for a reason. There's also a hint that perhaps there may be some local collectors who have stones with markings similar to what we've seen.
We should have a small submarine to be able to probe the bottom of that shaft by morning.
Probably within the next hour or so.
Oh, fantastic. We'll be back in time for some nightcaps.
You know that based on the festivities that are going on in the environment, most of the shops will be open well past 9 p.m. as well. If you wanted to go searching for some of those rocks this evening.
My suggestion is if you do go searching, Dr. Sinclair, probably disguise and take one of these rods with you. It will make your progress much swifter, I believe.
Fair enough.
Fancy walking stick style.
Alright, I don't actually have disguise as a... Oh, no, wait, I do!
Oh, let me help you.
Yeah, a bash with assistance. How do I, does that give me advantage, or...?
Yeah, you take a bonus dice. So roll 2 tens dices and 1 units dice. Or simply roll the tens dice twice and take the highest or lowest.
I have a dress that will suit you wonderfully.
It's my first time in drag, but I'm not as keen.
I mean, I've got some more standard clothes, if that's your preference for disguise.
Being like that.
I want a good garish suit.
That is a success. It is
Okay.
just a success.
Cool. Yeah, you look convincingly like somebody else.
I'm gonna disguise myself as someone suave. So go on as the slightly seedy sports coat, and let's go with something a bit more dinner jackety, some slick hair, decent shave. Yeah, someone.
Wow, he scrubs up nice. Susan Mitchell, you never would have guessed.
No. My mother did say repeatedly that he would be a good catch, and visually, maybe yes, but not
Not once you know him.
personality-wise.
All right, is anyone joining Julian Smith Sinclair as they go out into the evening, or do you want to do different activities?
I want to join Julian.
Okay.
I haven't hung out with Julian at all.
In the antiquities hunting.
We've had no time together, and we both look like vaguely suave superstars right now.
It's
Yeah.
true, you really do. Arthur Braithwaite, what are you doing with your evening?
I'm going to go down a hole.
Okay, so you're gonna
Are
reconvene.
you guys going now? Should we come with?
It's a 2-person sub.
Look, it's gonna take a little while for you guys to get the sub over there, get it set up and ready to dive. So, to be honest, and also you'll probably want to run the radiation suits over for the 2 people who are going to go down in the sub.
Mhm.
Remember, only 2 people can go down, so it's your choice as to who does that. And you would probably still be able to go exploring these shops and come back in time to be able to hit the dive, which would start probably at about 9:30, and it's probably about 6:37 now.
I feel that probably Lieutenant Ride should be one of the people to be submerged.
I'll be back in time, I promise. I never get to do anything.
Would
The
probably be
morale of the asset is just
I mean,
safety.
Dr. Murray would probably be good from a geological aspect as well.
Okay.
In terms of military training, do we require some sort of combat? I mean, I'm certainly handy with a fencing sword, and I'm getting better with pistols, but...
I feel if you get into a fight in a 2-person submarine, the trouble you're in is larger than raw skill is going to help you out of.
Use the pincers to mechanically separate whatever is outside.
Yeah, well, look, I'm going to have a rest anyway at this point in time, because cutting up that body today, as exciting as it was, you know, it's a lot of detailed work, and if we're going to be heading back out for more work, I'm going to, you know, trained athlete and all that, visualizing while resting.
So potentially, Julian and Lieutenant Ride, would you feel comfortable, or do either of you have the skills to pilot a submarine? I'm not sure if your astronaut training has prepared you for something like that. Lieutenant Ride, I suspect it's quite probable.
Yeah, I definitely can do very good at that. Yes. Sorry. I feel very confident that I'll be able to deal with a highly pressurized vehicle surrounded by a completely inhospitable environment and pilot it through unknown terrain, yes.
Such an asset to the team. Well done.
Yeah, I can pilot a boat and drive, so to varying degrees.
So we'll have the archaeologist and...
But Smith Sinclair, I mean, he certainly many family heirlooms allowed you to build up your skill set, I'm sure.
Certain skill sets. I mean, I can fly a plane if that's what you mean, but yeah, mini subs, not quite as much.
Okay, I'll be the pilot. I'll just need your keen eyes.
That I can do.
Captain, I think you and I can take a look around the reservoir. There's been some potential Russian agents loitering.
I wouldn't mind a chat with some people in beards and ill-fitting brown suits.
God, I don't know
Does
how.
that mean we're still going shopping?
Yeah, I think you're still going shopping. They're going shopping for Russians.
I'm so excited, my arms disappeared.
All right.
We need vests now.
So, Julian Smith Sinclair and Valentina Rose, you get what you need together, disguise yourselves as well-to-do types going about town, and you take a taxi or drive a car. Do you want to take the white sports car or possibly the MG?
Pedicab.
Oh yeah, let's get a pedicab.
All right, cool.
Let's
Grab a
do cultural
pedicab.
immersion.
Yeah, okay. You look like real tourists at this point as you head over to the old antiques district on the northern side of the island in the inner harbor. There is a pretty nice... Now, this area at this point in time, it's a bit more rough and tumble. The piers it's more like a dirt pier, dirt and sand, like black sand pier that sort of rises up to the asphalt street with all kinds of like haphazard jetties sort of riding out into the harbor and connections of boats. There are several pontoons out there, but this is not the nice tourist side. This isn't where the race is taking place. This is, at this point in time, the sort of like the more local shopping district. That said, if you want to take a guide or if you have friends, and even then, like a lot of people on this side speak English.
But no, we're not quite in the floating casino gin palace pleasure district.
No, not quite. Not quite. This is more the... There are definitely some small local bars on the water. There's like an old like paddle wheel steamer that's been permanently moored by the looks of it and turned into a small bar, mostly for locals on this side. There are a few other establishments, but people less drink in bars here and more just eat in restaurants, and wine is served in those restaurants, wine and beer and such like. As you come around, like the land sort of winds down the hills as you come over in the device. You come over in the pedicab. And you see a strip of shops, all alight. In this time of year, everything's active, everyone's open. There are grocery shops, there are antique stores, secondhand stores, all kinds of odds and ends. Clothing stores, tailors. There are smaller stores, there are larger stores. Most of the buildings are still older Portuguese-style buildings, but as opposed to the southern side of the island where everything is really well maintained and routinely painted, this is more crumbling, a little more decrepit, a little more falling apart. Much more of the sidewalks have given away to packed earth or sort of shoddy brick construction, and the vehicles that make their way around here tend to be more motor vehicles. You even see a few horse-drawn vehicles still running around this part of town. But as you head down to the main strip there, you sort of look around. Seems well lit, seems nice. And give me a spot hidden roll as you scan the area, or an archaeology roll is also good, Julian Smith Sinclair, if you'd like to identify the quality of the merchandise that are in some of these secondhand odds and sods shops.
Let's see. That's a fail for spot hidden. Can I try archaeology?
Yeah, of course.
Then it's just a success for archaeology.
Okay. So as you're strolling down, You catch sight of a few places, but you see one particular outlet that, while it doesn't have any of these stones that you're looking for, it does have some genuine ancient Chinese and native Japanese articles in it.
All right, so there's a few. There's a lot of fakes, but there's some of the real deal around here.
Okay, cool. With this one shop in particular seems to be trading in some good goods.
All right.
Or authentic
okay,
items.
Valentino, I think this is. Lieutenant Wright. I think this is our man. I think this. The rest of it just looks like a bunch of cheap tourist crap, but this guy could be our one.
Well, I'll follow your lead. I'm not very educated in these Oriental arts.
Fair enough.
Not familiar objects to me.
All right, gonna enter the shop.
All right. You come in off the street. A bell ding dings above the door as you come in through the glass entranceway. Some words written across the front entrance in Chinese. And you come into a large curio shop for all intents and purposes. Shelves stacked full of odds and sods, bric-a-brac, bits and pieces, masonry, mosaics. You see bits and pieces from all over Southeast Asia, essentially. Various artifacts, a few Buddha heads here and there, some temple dogs of different sizes. There are glass cases and wooden cases with a straw with meshing across the top of them, or even steel meshing that have objects that seem to be more or less valuable. There are some articles of Chinese armor that you recognize, even one or two Polynesian weapons. You think out of the corner of your eye, you even spot what looks like a broken Aztec sword, like an obsidian sword.
Does anything look familiar to like the Scythian runes and stuff that we saw?
Not that you can immediately notice, but give me a spot hidden as you stroll around the store, both of you.
What?
Yeah.
A minor success.
Yeah, minor success is a success nonetheless.
Whatever the medium success is.
Okay.
Good success? Great success.
Good.
Yeah, good success.
Great and critical. Yeah. Good.
Success, great success, critical, extreme success. The official terminologies.
Great success.
Great success. Okay. So you're walking through and you're examining the objects, and you are coming around to get within line of sight of the counter, and you start to see, and you see like behind one of the iron cages, just nestled in a bunch of mess of other artifacts, mostly like looks like old Portuguese armor from the 1400s, and some weapons and some other little artifacts, a couple of pipes, selection of pipes, Portuguese, Chinese, all carved in ivory and wood, and the smell of sandalwood sort of hangs heavy around this cabinet. And then you guys catch the sound of hello, can I help you? And you see an older Chinese man sort of saying, he looks like he said it originally and tries his luck in Chinese, sees you don't respond, and then just speaking English now. Yes, you're looking for something, but amongst these artifacts you see a single statue, a single stone. It's very similar in the shape to the pewter statues, but it seems like a dull gray stone, and it has an animal print on it. It looks like a hair wraps around it, very similar to the hair from one of the original statues.
Does the metal
yes.
look familiar? Like, does it look like something? Does it look like it's similar to the metallic things we saw, or does it just look like a?
In shape, like in general silhouette, yes. It's just a dull grey stone by the looks of it.
Cool.
Yes, can I help you? Sorry.
Yes, I'm just in town for the race with my friend here. Bit of a lover of art, appreciator of little curios, things like that. I heard your shop had some of the genuine article. It seems like you do.
Everything in our shop is genuine, of course. Of course, we don't lot like the other charlatans on this strip. Everything we sell is the real deal. All authentic. Some local, some from abroad. I've been a collector for a long time, and my father was before me.
I see. And I see you got a mix here. There's you recognize that an obsidian sword over there?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I once was lucky enough to travel to London, where I found a trader who got a case of goods shipped over from America. And came across a few artifacts. It is unfortunately damaged, but I wasn't quite as wealthy at the time, so I was able to pick it up. It's a good part of my collection. Now, of course, everything in my collection is potentially for sale. Nothing is out of the question, but of course, what in particular is of interest to you? Oh, perhaps you would like this finely carved jade comb that I have. It's a Tang Dynasty piece. Would certainly look lovely in your partner's hair. And he draws your attention. Give me insight rolls, guys, or psychology rolls, please.
The perfect cover. You just need to buy something else.
I'm going to spend 2 points of, is it psychology or psychology? I'm going to spend
Psychology.
2 luck points to succeed in psychology.
Okay. He seems to be deliberately trying to draw your attention away from the cabinet that you were initially looking at and towards a selection of flashier items, jewelry, things that, he says Tang Dynasty, he says, jade combs, he talks about some jewel-encrusted sword hilts, and he's just trying to draw you to flashier, potentially bigger ticket items, things that he thinks chumps like you would buy.
I mean, under circuits, but those are very nice. I don't know if we have much need for a comb, but I don't know. I tend to like little kind of paperweighty things I can keep on my desk.
Look, some of the finest things that I could imagine. Perhaps you would like some of these mobile shrines. I have some portable shrines that pilgrims used to take around with them all the time. They're little folding artifacts, and he sort of points you over another cabinet where these very finely carved wood and ivory shapes that have been opened up, and inside them there are pictures of Buddhas, and in fact there are even a couple of ones that look like they've been redone in a Portuguese style, representing saints and Christian iconography.
I go towards the hair, like the
comb,
and turn to Julian and go, "Oh, this one's so cute. I just want it so much."
This one, huh? The little bunny rabbit thing?
I do love a bunny rabbit. Don't you think it's so cute?
I mean, yeah, sure. It's cute enough. How much for the little bunny?
Wow, we'd be able to sell that to you for only $500 US. And it's a genuine article. It comes with a certificate.
Is it, we're not able to touch it right now, are we?
Oh, no, of course I'll get it out. So he's talking about, you guys are talking about the comb, yes?
No, we're talking about the bunny.
Oh, the hair. Yes, okay. So he looks over and he says, "Oh, those are all old military items. You would be interested in that kind of stuff. Really, they're quite trashy."
I'm going to use telepathy to try and read his surface thoughts here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So give me a power roll.
Careful, you don't have a glow up.
Give me my power again. Careful not to glow. Yes, it is a success.
Cool. He is nervous that you're interested in the rabbit. He thinks that you're a stupid woman and that he can try and distract you as best impossible to something else. There is a value to that collection.
Did I get a sense why he's nervous about our interest?
His surface thoughts are that is precious to him because it is something that is hard to find, hard to come by, and definitely he knows about it, but he's not thinking about all of the things that he knows about it right now. Of course, if you continue your line of questioning and ask the right questions, you might bring some of those thoughts to the surface.
Where did you find this rabbit? It looks quite unusual. It doesn't seem like anything else in this store.
He says, yes, it's just some old rock that was found. It's actually not of any historical significance, but I like it a lot. I think it goes really nicely with the other colonial items that are in the shelf. And in his mind, he's like, must think of something else. This is what does this person have an interest in this for? This is an ancient object. This is tied into the mythology of the island in this place. It's so rare and valuable. She could not possibly understand. Someone, a foreigner, could never truly understand, let alone an American, could never truly understand the value of this item. I just need to try and get them onto something else.
I'm going to use and try to telepathically communicate with Julian what I understand, which is basically that this is an ancient artifact from this island, and that they're trying to get us away from it because they feel that we're foreigners and that we won't appreciate it. Because I am no good at persuasion. Oh, critical success.
Oh yeah, you don't even need to roll.
70.
Everyone in your party has been briefed on your ability to exhibit telepathy. But that said, this is the first time you've ever experienced it, Sir Julian Smith Sinclair.
Yeah,
So
what
give
is
me-
it? Is it a voice in my head or what's...
Yeah, it's imagine as it's like the memory of a conversation is being implanted, but it's so recent. It's like you're left a few seconds later suddenly with the memory of her saying something,
But I didn't say it.
but she didn't say it. Yeah,
what am I
Yeah.
rolling?
give
Do
me
I-
a power roll just to try not to freak out.
Where's my power? That is 100, so I believe that is a critical failure.
Okay, so you
totally freak out.
you're not sure what to make of it. You don't think it's coming from Valentina. You thought she said it out loud. You lose 1 point of sanity.
Cool.
You were disturbed by it, but you still hear it.
Okay, so I still receive the information. I'm just very
You're freaked out by it.
This is what happened back at the academy. First there were the statues, then they heard the voices, and then an Egyptologist ate my boss's face.
And the store owner goes, I don't understand what you're saying. Look, perhaps there's something else. I can give you a discount on the comb. And your surface thoughts, Valentina Rose, he's like, this guy knows too much. There's something going on here. This foreigner knows something about this object. Maybe he knows more than me.
I'm gonna try and pull myself together. And sorry, whew, a little few too many Mai Tais. It's the climate. It gets to you a little. The
The
combs.
fumes from the race cars,
Yeah, it's a little loopy. It's a very nice comb, but I'm really I think my friend here is really set on the bunny rabbit. Maybe you could just bring it out so she could
Okay, so his face changes to a very dark demeanor. He goes, this bunny rabbit, as you call it, is an ancient artifact from Macau. You could not appreciate it nor respect it. It is not for you to own. You don't understand the cultural significance of it. It is only traded amongst locals. This is only for locals.
Well, say someone was a local. How much would you sell it to them for?
He goes, I think we've had enough. I think we've had enough here. Get out of my store.
All right. Not gonna try and argue with the man in his own shop.
Mhm.
So we'll take it through that then.
Can I just give it a bit of a pet before we go?
No, get out of my store. And he's thinking about it, and like this agitation is bringing thoughts to his head. He's thinking about other collectors. You get the names or the faces of, so he's not getting the names specifically, but the faces of like 5 other collectors. You get the impression that he's very proud of his collection. You get the impression that he has more of these items. You have the impression that he's a key figure in the circle of people who collects these artifacts, and you get an impression of his collection in the back room of his building, and he has a whole wardrobe, and there's probably about 50 articles in there.
Okay, useful knowledge.
And
Well, we're sorry to have disturbed you, but it is such a cute bunny. I hope it finds a good home.
and the other thing that you get in his mind is the flash of this light. So he witnessed the beam of light, like a lot of people did coming down, but then the correlation between that flash of light and these statues, his collection, and then him going off into a shrine in the same room where he's praying to his ancestors.
Interesting. Curiouser and curiouser.
But he is still that's like what you're seeing. This agitation, state of agitation that you've got him in, is really bringing all these thoughts to the surface, and he's trying to push you out of his store.
Well, Julian, let's go. We're not wanted here.
Yeah. It's probably just reproduction junk anyway.
Sick of doing that girly voice anyway.
All right, and you managed to make your way onto the street. Julian Smith Sinclair, you're seeing there are some cracks starting to show in Valentina's makeup. She's looking perfectly radiant tonight.
A little bit luminous.
But only faintly. It's just,
It's increased by a little bit over time that we're in there. I'm now verging on 50% of my luminosity. So.
Yeah, okay. So you guys decide to get back into a cab and head straight over to the reservoir.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sorry about that. First time I've had someone actually speaking inside my head who wasn't...
That's okay. I know it's really weird. I find it weird, to be honest.
And Captain Stuart Murray and Susan Mitchell and Agent Arthur Braithwaite. So who is going together to start doing some counter surveillance?
I'm definitely putting my hand up for that one.
And so who will facilitate the submarine being brought over, or are you going to leave that with Chet?
I think Chet can manage that, can't he?
All right, cool. So, and Susan Mitchell, in the meantime, would you like to join for some counter surveillance, or are you going to...
I was resting up after my extensive autopsy, writing down my notes as well, and just making sure I've got everything down in detail.
Okay, great. All right, so Captain Stuart Murray and Agent Arthur Braithwaite, how are you engaging in this? You're starting in the hotel room, obviously.
I am going to whip on a disguise.
Okay.
I'll move from the sort of more comely tones of the Special Branch Officer to something a little bit more party-esque. Seeing as there have been so much poo-pooing of my garments, I'll stick to something more boring and masculine, but of the Grand Prix nature.
Actually, it might be a good idea for me to get some more in the training. I can probably do these notes later if I join you in your reconnaissance.
All right.
Field's the best place to learn.
Yes, because the goal was eventually to, be a fully fledged agent in the wild rather than just in the lab.
Good thing about the Russians is it's kind of like playing espionage on easy.
They never really quite got the hang of it.
Brown suits, beards.
So you guys dress up, and where to first?
Let's, I think, make our way. Drink.
So the race goes directly past the reservoir,
It goes around the reservoir, yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to basically look like a race fan, Instamax camera, binoculars,
Bored wife.
bored wife,
Okay, yep.
bored mistress.
Let's board pictures.
As we're rifling through things, I'll hand you a cigarette on a stick,
Excellent.
sort of thing. And I will essentially pretend to look at the race and the cars and all of that sort of stuff while really looking for some terrible suits and beards and anyone paying attention to the reservoir.
Okay. So you're going to head to the reservoir end of the racetrack. Most of the people are gathering around the other end of the island, where most of the hotels and bars are.
I'm going to appear as someone who's probably had a bit much to drink and has stumbled away from the general frivolity, maybe for a bit of sober up time.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so I want you, all three of you, to make awareness notice rolls, please. Or spot hidden rolls, sorry.
That is a critical success. Let's move forward.
That's a 69, but nothing is successful.
No, that was 30%, 34% above my level.
Okay. So you guys...
when I'm pointed at a target.
I'm going to say that you guys are staying within a few hundred meters of each other at all times, so that you have radio communication.
Yep.
Okay. And you guys have the little microphones in the collar, so you can go... And then, like, the little earpieces. And they're masked to look like hearing aids.
Well, it's a loud race.
Earrings?
Or earrings. Yeah. You can just wear your hair over them.
Yeah.
If you want. Or a hat will also be able to conceal the device without much of an issue.
Excellent.
Regardless, you guys are out and about, and keeping distance, but kind of surveillance distance from each other. And ultimately, Agent Arthur Braithwaite, you're employing the knowledge that you know that they have seen your group. They've seen your group leave the limousine and come into the into the hotel. They've seen you leave the hotel before, and if they're observing you, then you might be able, and you're both in disguise, maybe they'll twig onto one group but not the other. And in this instance, you've left earlier. You haven't seen anyone notice you leave, but as Captain Stuart Murray and Susan Mitchell leave and go out onto the main strip from the hotel, you catch sight of one of these Russian guys putting down a newspaper and starting to trail them out of the building and keep following them at a reasonably safe distance along the strip. And every now and again, he's like just talking into his collar. And you obviously keep your distance from him and are trailing him as well. As the revelry engages around you guys.
Are you notifying?
I will.
Becht? Now,
I'll also take a look around because there's going to be someone with roughly 100 meters of him. So I need to find the rest of them.
So again, give me a spot hidden roll. And if you've notified Captain Stuart Murray and Susan Mitchell, they can also make rolls.
I'm not successful on this one.
Okay.
Spot hidden again?
Yep. No, not a chance.
Nope.
You're not sure.
Damn
You don't
Russians.
notice. You don't know. It looks like this guy's alone.
But I know he's not.
So, what I
You
would
can
like...
suppose.
I suppose he's not. I just can't see the others. Maybe what I'll say is I can't spot him. The crowd is too dense. Lead him to somewhere a bit more secluded. Somewhere the
what I would
crowd's
like to
thin,
do-
and I should be able to see the other guys.
Somewhere where I can essentially stop around a corner. Susan continues and then when he catches up, bam!
Let's not take him yet. I think I'd like to see how many other people are there first.
Okay.
Do you want to move on him right away without necessarily ascertaining the rest of the cell?
Now you're cautious. Not with the hand cannon.
Look. Arthur has one fetish outside of his many sexual fetishes, and that fetish is weaponry.
So Captain Stuart Murray, you're leading the way. Where are you going to take this guy?
So,
And
we
Susan as well. You're
picked up
also
leaving
you're
the hotel.
together.
Yeah. So we're leaving the hotel.
You're about halfway down the strip, heading to the southwestern tip of the island.
Yeah. There's probably shops and things along the way. We could head
Absolutely.
into
Shops, restaurants, bars, outlets. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, darling, you need to buy me a present. You promised. And I head into something that looks suitably appropriate. Maybe
All
some.
right. You head into a designer
Something down an alley.
a custom dress down an alley. No, you're gonna head into a store.
You don't know how this works.
He knows exactly how this works.
And you head into a clothing store.
Perfect.
Excellent.
That seems to be a tailor on the main strip. It's got lots of really nice hats. So it's a milliner and tailor, and they've got lots of hats and really nice dresses in the window. It's a very contemporary styles. They've got posters from the Vogue magazines of the day showing off the latest
Perfect.
styles, and a few sort of album covers in the window.
I'm gonna grab a hat or two and try it on while looking in the mirror to see if I can spot our tail.
And I'm going to be flicking through the clothing racks to see
Mhm.
what there is, but mostly kind of keeping an eye out.
Yeah. So Agent Arthur Braithwaite, the target crosses the street and starts browsing in a news agency across the road.
Mhm.
Just looking through magazines and keeping a casual look at Captain Stuart Murray and Susan Mitchell. Again, all three of you can make spot hidden rolls to see if you can see these other agents in the area.
That's better.
Nope. I'm actually quite distracted by these clothes.
Standard success.
Damn, look at this jacket.
Again, you cannot spot anyone in the environment. It does appear that this person's just alone, and he is keeping a reasonably safe distance. Give me an idea roll, please. That's just a knowledge roll.
I can spend luck.
You can head out the back door.
Yes.
Your training indicates that he's probably just doing standard surveillance without the intention to act on anything at this point.
Okay.
Regardless of which, you're watching him. He's in the news agent, and he suddenly puts down the magazine and jumps on his collar. He's like, "Huh?" Okay, and starts talking, and he's looks up and looks down to the southwest towards the tip of the island, which is the direction that you guys were heading. Looks alarmed and distracted, and you guys see a black sedan just pull around the corner, and he runs quickly towards it and goes to jump in it, and then the sedan pulls up, backs up, seems to be in quite a hurry because it almost hits a few people, and the car beep, 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 beep. You guys in the shop even see this, and it sort of starts to speed its best that it can through the traffic down to the south of, it seems to be going around the marina area in that direction.
I'm going to very quickly, the moment I start to see this happen, turn around and find someone with like a motorcycle. Moped's available there. I'm looking for a cheap one.
Yep.
Like, obviously, just like a.
Like, there are lots of like just there are lots of motorcycle taxi people who just like hang around on the main strip driving people around.
Well, I'm gonna walk up to one, pull out cash, and just be like, jump on the back. I'll give it back to you when I'm done. I'm hiring you, and pull out an order of magnitude more money than he's expecting.
Okay, I was like, sure, why not? And he gets on the back and you drive it up.
I'm like, in pursuit, and I'm going to attempt to.
Okay, Captain Stuart Murray, Susan Mitchell, you see this transaction happening. Do you want to follow suit, or?
Right.
We should get to the reservoir.
The
Is that
southwest
this-
tip of the island is the reservoir area.
No, that's the northeast.
Oh,
tip.
Oh, okay, so
ooh.
something else.
What is going on? Yeah. Run out into the street. I will be a little less discreet.
Okay, there is a taxi. There are plenty of taxis as well. You see one that's going in that direction.
Follow
Sure.
that bike, following that car.
Yep.
Yay!
Jump
All
in
right,
it.
speed along. All right. So Julian Smith Sinclair and Valentina Ride, you're taking a slow stroll back up the hill to the center of the island. And it's actually quite enjoyable. The lights from the storefront area reflecting across the harbor. The mainland looms in the distance. And then suddenly down the hill, this black sedan just zooms down. You sort of look back and you're like, whoa, hey. And spot hidden roll.
Nice. Yeah, success.
Success.
You're like, whoa, aren't they're those Russian agents? And then vroom, you see Agent Arthur Braithwaite on a motorcycle with some local on the back holding on for dear life, like cruising down the hill.
Can't believe you took the local.
But is pursued. And then shortly after, a taxi screeches to a stop in front of you.
Get in!
We need to join them.
Yeah.
Come on, Julian, let's do this.
Sure.
Right. And you all jump in. You start moving as fast as you can in pursuit without sort of looking completely suspicious. You're now like a convoy following this vehicle, as it were. This vehicle has a reasonable amount of advance on you, but it's not trying to avoid you. It doesn't seem like it's aware of your trail, Agent Arthur Braithwaite. And it cuts in onto a bridge that runs across to the mainland.
Oh. Can we get close enough? I'm gonna pull out my pistol, put a silencer on it. Can I get close enough to put a bullet in a tire?
No, you're way behind. The only person to be in that position is Agent Arthur Braithwaite.
You've got that passenger.
But I would like you all to make spot hidden rolls, please.
I've been so successful. 93. I'm continuing my role of fabulousness.
Good lord.
I know.
I spotted something.
Maybe it was meant to be like when I rolled that 99.
That was a regular success.
I failed. Spot hidden.
That's a fail.
All right. So
I'm
this
just trying to catch up on the situation.
Yeah, I'm a little discombobulated, still a little shook.
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
a big night, or day rather.
You're a little something, Julian.
I knew I should have stayed home and rested.
did anyone pass that?
Yes.
Standard success.
Standard success.
All right. Cool. So you guys you're heading up the southern side of the island. This part of the island is relatively unoccupied. You're not experiencing any traffic. The road's opened up, and it looks like he's going to turn across to a road that will take you up into the hills across the bay. Captain Stuart Murray, as you are turning off onto this road that leads off in the mountains, you start catching glimpses. So this is Stuart and Arthur. You start catching glimpses of light, like strange light, and it seems to be in a similar spectrum to the light that you saw coming out of the beam gun that you fired earlier. However, it shifts in its spectrum quite dramatically. Furthermore, you see the headlights from one or two more other vehicles already up there on the road.
So are the lights coming down from the sky, or do they seem like they're starting?
No, they're among the trees. Among the trees, moving among the trees.
Well, let's hustle.
And you see a couple of flashes, look like gunshots.
Right, game faces, people. I will pass out some additional firearms to other people in case they might not be packing.
I have brought my 9mm with me.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a rapid skid to halt. I'm like, you have to go. Off with the local
We can give him the taxi.
money and then just
You
take
man
off.
you kidnapped.
Hired.
No, I didn't kidnap. He came
Fired.
along willingly. I've given him enough money to get home.
He's like, fucking damn it, shit, and sees the taxi drive by and sees
There's even a convenient taxi in
son
the
of a bitch. But you're in the taxi.
Yeah, we need to get the taxi
For the time
close
being.
enough to then get out and send the taxi back so that they're not in danger either.
All right, cool. So you guys continue along. The taxi driver is, wow, this is really exciting. What are you guys, some kind of secret agents or something?
Shh.
No, we just like to feel like we're racing.
Wow, well, hey, you don't tell me. Don't have to tell me twice. And boom, steps on the gas.
Good man, good man.
So, are you guys going to try and be an obvious trail, or are you trying to go a little bit incognito?
Well,
It's a taxi.
this is a long road. I figure we can go incognito up until the point. We can at least push it, subterfuge a little further.
Kill the light.
These guys seem like they're in extreme hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Have to head
they're.
back to the car.
I don't think they're too worried about a tail. They've got their mind on something else. I think we can floor it.
And with the taxi as well, it's not like we're, in a...
Well,
Okay.
are you suggesting we overtake them?
We certainly catch up to them.
But there's
Are
no,
they
there's no
armed? Are they
extra
still going?
point in giving them more time to prepare for our presence. They're already going flat chat.
Yeah, but we don't know where they're going necessarily, but
I suspect they're going towards those lights.
yes. Well, we could overtake them and get there first.
Look, frankly, we could probably floor it with the lights off.
How
And
much do you trust your taxi driver?
Yeah.
he's a Macau taxi driver. I trust him all the way.
A well-lit city.
There's not a lot of lights around here, and the only lights are coming from our car and their car.
And the forest. Don't forget the lights in the forest.
Yeah, but they're pretty, they're going all over the place, right? They're not really lighting the way so much as...
Task lighting.
Are the lights relatively stationary, geographically speaking?
They are darting around within a specific area, yes.
More like a disco?
No, more like something streaking through the woods.
Oh.
Like some kind of wildebeest.
Hmm.
Is it is it getting closer to us or going further away?
It is still some distance from you, these lights, and again, like you're just getting patches of it here and there, and you could see it more clearly when you were across the bay, but now you're crossed over, there's more vegetable matter between you and where that location was. Your
Okay.
best bet to get there is to follow this guy.
Yeah.
I follow at a respectable distance. He's going to peg to me eventually. Once he does, or if I get a sense that he does, then we'll just push up.
All right, so he gets to a point, and he sees you're coming up behind him, and one guy sort of leans out the window and aims at you, firing back with a gun. So you can give me a dodge roll, please, or don't give me a dodge roll, give me a drive motorcycle roll.
Glad we have a professional doing our driving.
Standard success.
All right. Give me a second drive motorcycle roll as the bullet, which does not do quite as much damage as it would like.
Another standard success.
All right, cool.
you
You
for
manage
giving me
to
some good
stay
advice.
stable on the motorcycle, and it just clips your shoulder, doing 3 points of damage.
Ow.
Oof. As the bullet ricochets down. And yeah, so he's open fire.
I'll pull out a gun. I'm in the woods. I'll pull out one of the big boys and I'll blow up the tires.
All right, cool. Yeah, give me a difficult firearms roll. So you need a major success.
Oh, that's not good. No.
Okay, awesome. Cool. And Captain Stuart Murray, your vehicle, the taxi driver is like, wow, whoa, bullets and everything. This is so exciting.
Damn right. Stay safe, get us there, and then we'll settle up the fare.
All right, cool. So another shot is flung out in your general direction, Agent Arthur Braithwaite.
That's a critical success.
Yeah, you swerve. You easily see the locate. You're sort of tracking the direction that he's pointing the barrel. You just zoom, swerve, take evasive actions. The bullet flies wide. This sort of ricochets off the hood of the taxi that you guys are in. At that point, the car pulls off into an embankment. It skids suddenly, and then the guys jump out of the car and start running up the side of the embankment into the undergrowth.
How thick is the bush area?
It seems like they're onto a particular trail, and now that you arrive, you can see two other cars that seem to have been relatively concealed in this area.
Clearly, this
But is it sort of foot only, or is it dirt bike capable?
This is not a dirt bike. This is this is like a moped city bike.
It doesn't need to survive this. It just needs to be able to get
Okay,
itself.
give me a pilot
I'm just
bike
like,
roll.
if it's like thick scrub and dead
No, it looks like they're going up a goat trail.
Right, so on foot then.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to get the taxi driver to stop. We can
Yeah.
get out. We can pay him enough money and tell him to pick up your passenger that you ditched down
Yeah.
lower on the way back.
It's a fare back down the road.
All right, he takes the money and goes, "Thanks, guys. Good luck. I can wait here if you want."
Yeah,
Probably
we've
not worthwhile.
got enough cars we can leave with.
See you at the races tomorrow.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Good luck, guys. He pulls away as you guys head up the goat trail.
Yep.
All right. So as you're heading up the goat trail, you can hear these guys huffing and puffing ahead of you. They have moved so far ahead of you that it's relatively cloudless in the sky tonight, and the moon filters down through the trees. Every now and then, you can catch glimpses of their movement, and you can see the trail ahead of you pretty clearly. That said, every now and again, you hear gunfire. And every now and again, you see flashes of this color, a movement of a light just slightly outside of the spectrum of your known colors, with traces of yellow and blue just flickering through.
I wonder if they've found one of these creatures and they're trying to kill it.
Really wish we'd have brought a knuckle duster.
I've
You
got
hear-
the knuckle dusters on me.
You hear a cry of anguish coming from the woods. And a few pleading words in Russian, just
Well, that's a
trailing away on the breeze. Julian, you've taken the lead, and you start to see more and more clearly the outlines of these agents running through the wilderness. But also, you start to see that you're coming up to a rise, and just over that rise, there's a glow of ambient light that's shooting up. You glance over your shoulder briefly, and you see through the sweat, Valentina's ride makeup's starting to run, and she's starting to be very discernible in the darkness.
I'm gonna come up to the rise, but stop just before we get to it and pull up there.
All right. You run up to the rise, you get there in time to see these other two agents running down. It goes down into what is a small clearing, and you all see it before you. Standing before this creature, one of the agents is holding up, he's desperately turning a small cylindrical device in his hand, looking up at the creature, trying, blinded almost by this light, as you see this large form. It's like the size of a moose, but with 6 legs, fur coming out from beneath which this radiant blue-yellow glow exudes, 3 eyes mounted upon its head, and its antlers spreading out. It's as if the light is struggling to find form, and as it breathes in, giving a deep, lowing cry, you see energy from these 3 agents around it, 2 holding guns, 1 desperately trying to spiral a device. Looking at it, sort of open up, and their eyes open up, and you see a light and an essence and a smoke sort of draw out through their mouths, through their eyes, through their nose, and start feeding into this creature. As the energy feeds into this creature, you see the light that emanates from it begin to subside, and its existence solidify more. We're gonna end game there, guys.
Ooh.
Stay smooth.
Nice.